Picks his way to the right and is tripped up, reaching for the end zone. Touchdown. What a start.
Give it to Reed, and there he goes. Nobody's going to catch him. Touchdown.
It's caught. Jeremiah Smith. Touchdown, Ohio State. The legend grows.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, welcome in everybody. This is Jared Palmgren, host of the Chasing the Natty podcast. It is Sunday night once again, and we are here doing another 30-round CFF draft. We got some fun restrictions that Joe and I have placed upon ourselves tonight. We're going to do a little bit of a challenge for ourselves tonight because, you know, you guys don't want the same old every single week here. But speaking of which, our guest tonight is none other than Mr. Joe Arpasi over at letpurplerain.com. You can find him on Twitter at UW_purple_rain, rain spelled R-E-I-G-N. Joe, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate being here, man. You know, we're gonna have a little fun with strategy. I'm gonna admit, you know, like I have the easier one to deal with today than you do, but we decided to do. We're gonna do the opposite of each other. You know, so everybody gets to see like a 180 view of two different approaches here. But you know, I'm doing good. It's a Sunday night. Anyone that watches my Diary of a Draft Man series understands that when I draft, I like to have golden treats or Steve Weisers, and so I've got them ready to go here. So we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to have a good time. But before we get too far into the show, I've been forgetting to do this the last couple of weeks, so I just want to make sure that I throw out my spiel real quick for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. And based on what I can see behind the scenes, there are a lot of you that tune into these streams for the first time, trying to learn about college fantasy. One, I welcome you guys so much. But for those of you who don't know who I am Jared Palmgren. I am the host of this show. I am the CFF lead over at campus2canton.com, where we have a ton of great stuff. We have tiers that help you with all sorts of games, whether that's CFF, Devi, Campus to Canton, Underdog, Best Ball, anything. If you play it, we got content, whether that's tools, rankings, pretty much everything you need to succeed. I've got a promo code over there. It's Natty, N-A-T-T-Y, gets you 10% off of a yearly membership. If you can't do that, and I'll remind everybody in the chat as well, go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. It's free on your end. Make sure that we stay in your feed. It also makes sure that we get in front of the eyeballs of people who might be interested in this whole college fantasy thing that we all love and adore over here. With that being said, again, if you got any questions for me, I'm at CFF_Jared on Twitter. Show's at Chasing the Natty. And as I mentioned before, Joe, who's joining us tonight, is at UW_purple_rain, rain spelled R-E-I-G-N. I have to do that. I'm contractually obligated to spell out rain every time I bring it up, according to Joe. So yeah, let's talk about this, Joe. Again, we've teased it. We've placed some restrictions on ourselves here a little bit. And what's going to happen tonight is, you guys all know, based on watching me do plenty of these drafts, I'm a running back early kind of person. This is a year where you should be drafting running backs early. Normally that's how I am, like in previous years, but this year more than ever, I am going to take a zero RB strategy tonight. I am not going to draft a running back until the 7th round. And now that I say that out loud, I know all of you guys listening live that are in this draft are about to snipe every running back off the board for me. But joke's on you guys. If you want to do it the other way, Joe, you will not be taking a wide receiver until the same range. And we basically wanted to kind of provide two different draft strategies than what you kind of normally see, and we'll kind of compare and contrast them at the end of the show. We kind of thought that would be a fun idea. Joe, your initial thoughts on that challenge?
Yeah, like I said before, I have the easier of the two. It means I can draft running backs. But to make it more interesting for myself, I'm going to guarantee I'm going to draft 2 quarterbacks in those first 6 picks. So okay. I can only stockpile 4 running backs in this.
Okay. All right. I like that. Again, it kind of, because like no
a way to pushing quarterbacks early sort of approach.
No, I like that. And I'll probably end up doing the same thing a little bit as well. Because like I'm not going to draft 6 straight wide receivers to start if I can't draft a running back in the first 6 picks. So might as well go after some of these quarterbacks early on. I'm kind of excited. It'll help me get some shares of players that I don't normally draft pretty early on in the draft, and then we'll kind of see how things go from there. So,
yeah, like get yourself Sadiq in the 6th or 5th. You know, you got the freedom to do it.
I don't know if you can see how much I'm glaring at you right now, Joe. Actually, I got to glare the other direction because there we go. Now I'm glaring the right direction because before I was looking at the opposite direction I should have been. Ben says Jared's RB1's going to be Caden Fagan or something. Honestly, that's probably what's going to end up happening. We'll see how it goes.
Jalen Borg first.
Yeah. Don't worry, Joe. Your first wide receiver is probably still going to be somebody decent because there's so many good wide receivers still in like the 7th round. Anyway, before we get too far into this, again, appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Shout out to Colin Boyer, says he's here finally live. Glad you could join us, Colin. Love all of the normal faces that I see here tonight. I see 863 Kane. I see Robert Flores. I see Carp. I see Ben. I see Brett. I see all of you guys in the chat. Really love the lively chat that we're getting tonight. Speaking of that lively chat, we are going to draft. We will talk strategy. We love talking about our picks, but you guys there in the chat drive this show just as much as we do. So if you've got a topic that you want us to discuss, if you see a pick that you find interesting, let us know in the chat and we will discuss it further. Again, this is your time to talk to us. We're having a conversation with each other, but just as much we are having a conversation with you guys as well. And we've already got a couple questions in the chat tonight. So we'll go ahead and start with Robert Flores here. The draft will start in about 4 minutes here, so I think we can at least hit up his question, where Robert says, first thing I need Jared to clear up, SMU backfield. Any closer on it on who might be the workhorse there, or do we have a committee? So the SMU backfield, for those that don't know, basically cleared out after last season. Like if you're looking at their top rushing guys, obviously Rashard Smith's now off to the NFL with the Chiefs. LJ Johnson transferred out. He's now with, remember, is he the one at West Virginia or at Cal?
Cal.
He's at Cal. And then it was Knighton who went to West Virginia, correct?
I think so.
Roger Daniels is out of eligibility. And then, really the only guy that came back was Derek McFall, who has that running back wide receiver eligibility. Obviously very interesting there. But in addition to McFall, they bring in TJ Harden. I think those are your two guys. If you're going to take a shot on the backfield, those are the two guys you got to go after there. And really, I think both go late enough that they're fine values right now. I think in my rankings, I have TJ Harden ahead of McFall, mostly because, again, McFall is kind of a smaller dude, has just transferred over to running back, started off as a wide receiver there at SMU, still learning the position. Meanwhile, TJ Harden, like, I know he disappointed the last couple of years, but it really wasn't his fault. UCLA was just in a really bad position. And so I think he kind of fits that really bruising back. Meanwhile, McFall kind of adds, like, they're going to be a thunder and lightning duo for them this year. So I don't think we're going to get a Brashard Smith like we did last year. And if one of those guys does break away, it's most likely to due to injury. Great best ball picks. I think they'll both have really big weeks because that offense should be good in the ACC again. But for right now, like, let me see. Let me control F here. Yeah, I got Harden at RB 56 and McFall at RB 76. So I got about 20 spots apart from each other, but really in the grand scheme of things in my projections, that's not a huge gap between those two. Joe, how are you handling that backfield? I think both are worth drafting.
I think this is a 3-man race going into fall camp. One name that was left out who had a very good spring and he was running with the ones at time was Jermenko Green, freshman. I think he's a third guy that you can't count out. Like if right now, and I haven't re-ranked them because I haven't sat down. I wanted to run new numbers, but if I had to just put a pecking order, I would say McFall with a slight edge. I would normally have Green number 2, but then why go sign Harden? Yep. So Harden throws that question mark, but we haven't seen one single thing from him. So I have a hard time figuring out exactly where I would put Harden between 2 and 3. But in my eyes, I kind of think like they're all pretty dang close to one another. And for right now, like I might take a shot on McFall in these drafts. I did draft Green in my Tadpole Bowl as a late dart throw sort of a guy. But because he actually, we have seen something, we have seen him do well in spring camp. But it's, for me, it's a, I'm viewing them all as handcuffs. I want to wait for fall news. That's just my stance right now.
Yep, I would definitely agree. The draft has started, by the way. Matthew Brooks, if you are listening, you are on the clock, good sir. Hope you've got your pick ready to go there. I got the draft board up on the screen, so y'all are able to see that now.
There was another question. I just found.
I was about to
found it.
I was about to hop over to the next question. It was Colin Boyer.
Memphis. Yeah.
Bowyer? Colin, let me know, man. Is it Boyer or Bowyer? I'll make sure I pronounce that correctly going forward. But he said, is Sutton Smith going to be the RB1 at Memphis? I'm a big Greg DeRosier fan, but man, it does sound like, at least from the beat reporters, that they're counting on Sutton Smith to be a pretty big part of that offense this year. Not necessarily in a workhorse role like we saw like Blake Watson and Mario Anderson the last couple of years, but I don't think they're quite ready to hand the keys to the kingdom at the RB position over to Greg DeRosier. And I think that, Sutton Smith, he's a more traditional running back compared to DeRosier. And so I think that he is a legitimate threat. And I did add him to my rankings recently just to kind of counter that and say, like, if you grab DeRosier early on in a draft, you should make it a priority to grab Sutton Smith as well.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record tonight, and I know my pick is coming up, but I want to see news about Sutton's health in camp before I start throwing him in the conversation. So for me, I'm viewing DeRosier as the main guy, and then I'm going to wait for news to change that. And while I make my pick here, I'm going to start it off with a running back because he is my number one ranked running back. So I'm going to go with Washington out of Baylor. But for Sutton, that's a situation I feel like could change very rapidly in 2 to 2.5 weeks for me. But I want to hear, is he even doing contact drills? Like I'm not going to start slotting him in as a number one if the first scrimmage happens and he's not even cleared for contact.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. More questions here from Ben Jacob. He says, tell me about Colton Joseph. What do you think, Joe? There's been a lot of talk about him maybe not having that QB1 job locked down with Hennikel performing really well in that bowl game. Neither one of them went to media days with Old Dominion. How are you kind of reading that situation?
I'm still looking at it like Colton is the guy. Jared's on picking right now, so I'll kind of keep going on that one. Like I said, I'm going to be a broken record today. Like until I hear something different at a fall camp, I'm going to keep viewing it as Colton is the main starter, and assuming that there's no issue with position battle. What an approach I have with Colton, there's a lot of different things to take. Is he just a purely one-dimensional guy? Can he give enough in the passing game? Is a legitimate worry to have. But I also, and it's tough looking at the fact that like we only saw him for a portion of the year. It was conference play. We don't know how his stats are going to be in non-conference and how that affects his full season. So it's hard to, like, when you're projecting him. Like, when I ran my first projection on him, I went, holy smokes, that's high. Let me go back to this.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of difficult really figuring out where his sweet spot is. Like I said, assuming there's no position battle issues in there, I don't think his floor is as low as maybe some naysayers think, but I do think he has a tremendous upside, but it's definitely there's more risk. And for a QB1, I'll take him if he slides and a lot of other guys around him have been gone, but I'm usually not looking to target him. I draft him if he falls to me and the board has just kind of wiped out anything else around him.
Yeah, I've got him ranked at QB 10. A slight discount for some worry there, but like again, still top 10 quarterback to me. The upside is just absolutely insane. I definitely would say that you don't want to grab him as like an anchor quarterback. Like he's definitely a guy you grab if you're going to grab two quarterbacks early, probably like you're about to do, Joe, here with this draft. So
like I have him at number 11, but there's a good amount of guys I have ranked higher who I've projected less fantasy points for.
Gotcha. All right, I'll explain my pick here real quick. I actually took a guy that I normally am not a big fan of taking in the first round, but because I am locked out of the running back position, the initial thought I had, I'm also on the clock here. What do I do? Do I grab a favorite here, or do I go what I think might be the smart route? Nah, grab a favorite. Got to go grab guys you can root for. Anyway, what I was saying was without running back being something I can target here in the first couple of rounds, my initial thought was, well, the safety of my team is gone. Because the reason why I draft running back so early is because it provides a very nice safe floor for my team. That's gone. Like, running backs I draft round 7 and on, there's going to be a lot of risk with them. So I need to shoot for immense upside. Like guys that I normally would be a little hesitant to take early on. In my rankings and projections, I have like a discount, like a confidence discount. I almost have to throw that out the window for this draft, I think. This is a team that I think will either end up in first place or it's going to end up in last place tonight. That's the kind of team I'm shooting for here.
All right. Donig just sniped me. I had Claiborne all ready to go. That quote from Media Days, we'll give him 40 carries if his body can handle it. I'm slowly getting up more on him. So now I'm kind of stuck because I know what I'm going to do next round. And there's several guys I could all take here at running back that I want to lean into. This is it's still a position battle. I'm just, I hit the wrong button there. I am just really starting to get high on Sire Gaines, and I'm taking him way above ADP. I am loving all these summer reports that we're hearing about his health, his work ethic, and this system. Even though we're going to have multiple guys play this year, I believe, in that Boise offense, and the coaches had stated earlier they're going to start running more 2 running back situations. I'm not counting on Gaines to be Ashton Genty, but I definitely think he's going to be. I think he has the potential to be a top 5 running back. Just he's not Ashton Genty. Everybody, please understand that. So for me, as I'm looking at some of these other guys, and I'm just like, and we've known his talent is there. Obviously, he wasn't healthy in the spring, but these summer reports are making me feel giving me a lot more confidence moving forward. And I'm going to admit, like you're saying, like accept risk and shoot for upside. That's something I'm going to do on this one instead of playing it a little more safe. So I don't mind taking the shot on Gaines there over another favorite that Jared and I have that we've grown on over the course of the spring that plays at a school in a very large state.
Yes. Let's catch up on
because they are listening live. I can't say stuff like I normally do on my podcast. I talk out my entire thought process.
Nope, you gotta be careful what you say. These guys will snipe you.
Yep.
Let's run through a couple comments here. First of all, shout out James Gallagher. I see your comment here, man. I'm glad that you're able to tune in live for the first time here. Glad that you've been watching the videos for a while. Appreciate that, man. T. Johnson, he says, is there a finite date when placeholders will be replaced from older drafts? I will get around to it. I promise you, man. You will have your team ready to go by the time week 0 gets around here. You're all good to go. Speaking of James Gallagher, he says, my league has kickers and team defenses. Definitely not a fan, but we have him. Yes. Who would be your top kicker or defensive rankings? James, this week we have the wide receiver crash course. You will love next week, because next week we will be diving into tight ends, kickers, and defenses all in one crash course video. So be on the lookout for that, James. The unfortunate thing is...
I'm going to interject because I got 40 seconds on the clock. My plan for the 3rd round fell into my lap. I wanted to wait, and I'm going to draft one of the guys that I'm keeping in my home league. I'm going to be a homer. I'm taking Damon Williams since I'm going quarterback aggressive early.
Oh, that's not the big state that I thought you were talking about.
No. I said another running back that we have grown really big on.
Okay.
That plays at a very prominent school in a very large size state.
Okay, see, I thought that's where you're going with this next pick. Okay, I got you.
No. I was saying that's who I could have taken instead of Gaines. I really could have. And actually, at this point, because he's not going to make it back, Trey Wisner or Sire Gaines were really those two I was looking at. And it's just, how safe do I want to be or how much risk do I want to take? Mm-hmm. But you're talking about the 2 best CFF offensive systems for running backs. Flip a coin.
For sure. All right, let's see. Going through the more chat questions. Jake Drew asks, how do you feel about Jalen Raynor? Jake is pretty high on him and Rucker. I recently moved up Jalen Raynor in my rankings after the QB crash course video I did with Chris Moxley. He was able to get me to come around on Raynor performing a little bit better than I had him projected for. I've got him currently at QB 33. I think he's a great pick in the middle rounds if you're looking for quarterback. There's a ton of upside there. We've seen the upside before with him in his freshman year. He just wasn't able to replicate that last year. So, Joe, how do you feel about Raynor?
Raynor is one of those guys. I want to see a little more news before I pump up his projections too much. And a lot of my rankings do start from projections. While Jared's on the clock, I'll kind of talk it out. I have him
I am on
at
the
quarterback
clock.
56, but I have him like in the same tier as guys like Blake Shapen, Caden Salter. I think there's upside with Raynor, but I think my biggest issue is just there's so many other guys I would take instead of him. Like I love Cedric Bailey, who I have in that same that exact same tier. I like the idea that NC State offense might take a big leap. I like the fact that Cedric Bailey can run the ball. Like so, there's a number of there's just other guys I tend to like more, which is why Raynor kind of just always gets passed over for me. But I agree with you guys. It's one of those like there's that potential he could do it, but you know the old coaching adage, "Show me, don't tell me." I kind of just want to see a little bit more before I start buying in. But I can agree that like that possibility's there.
Possibilities there, and again, his value in drafts right now is pretty solid. Like he's currently going as QB 49 in drafts. Like you can get him.
A good example for me, I'd rather take Dwayne Coleman from Army than him. I like the combination of the system, the schedule. Like so, there's just like that's another guy who just like I just see so many names I'd rather take over him.
Yeah, but like around where Raynor's going right now, obviously Coleman does typically go later, but like who would you rather have, Raynor or Calandria?
Probably Raynor, but let me just see where I've got Calandria.
Raynor or Eget?
I don't want to draft Eget.
I'm
just not even touching him. I'm sorry.
Hunter Watson or
give me a minute.
Raynor?
Hold on, give me a minute. I've got Calandria. Yeah, so I would take Raynor over Calandria any day. I have Calandria at 72, running back,
okay.
Quarterback 72.
Where do you have Raynor at?
56. So about a 20 spot difference there.
Gotcha.
But but also it's one big reason for the way that my rankings come out is position battle has a lot to do with it. Raynor has a secured job. UNLV is not secured, so that pushes down Calandria a lot in my rankings.
Whew, y'all had me sweating there. Every time I saw gold pop up for quarterback, I was so afraid I wouldn't be able to get a share of Veltkamp finally. But again, without my running backs to crutch on here, I'm shooting for upside. This system could totally fall flat on its face in year one, even though I don't think that's what's going to happen. But if it works, man, boy, you're talking about a potential 5,000-yard passer with Veltkamp there, stacking him with Messer. I like this start so far. Again, we'll see what kind of hellscape I see at running back here by the time round 7 gets to it. But Joe, I know you're sweating over there. I think you think you're about to get some value here.
Maybe Donna, maybe, who knows? But I know exactly which two people I'm getting here, so I'll be happy with either one that I get. I'm just going to let the board dictate it for me.
Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat here. Colin Boyer says, in C2C drafts, I've been double tapping Zach Palmer-Smith and Deshaun Ford. At this point, who would you bet on? I lean probably 60-40 Deshaun Ford actually right now, because like what little information we do get does seem to point his way. But also, I don't blame people for betting on a veteran presence like Zach Palmer-Smith.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give me both guys at value right now, I'm going to take Ford like 9 out of 10 times. Zach Palmer-Smith goes really, really high for me in drafts. He's still on the board here, but I've seen him go as high as like the 3rd, 4th round in some drafts. And I'm just like, dude, you can't do that. It's just not a system we know. It's not a team we know enough about to be drafting one of those guys as if it's a clear 100% chance that this guy is going to be the lead guy. I get it. It's Brian Vincent's running back system, but boy, like you're setting yourself up for a lot of trouble drafting one of those guys that highly. It could pay off, but whew.
Yeah, I agree. Like I love that system. I was leading the charge all last year for drafting a running back out of that system. We got all thrown a curveball last year after game 1.
Dude, that was wild.
I know. But like here we are, you know, I've only taken one share of Palmer-Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that. I'm going to give him the veteran's presence, but I think I'm still going to consider that a 3-way race until I hear more from the fall. And yes, I did get my value, Trey Wisner, even though I said it. None of you guys stole him. Honestly, guys, come on now.
I know our drafters not in their evil form tonight. The one time,
I mean, guys, I am drafting Abu Sama next. Please take him.
No, Mike is in the chat begging people to take Veltkamp before I was able to pick him there in the 4th round. And I'm just like, whew, lucky I got that stack.
The beautiful thing, like I said, I had 2 guys I really wanted there in the 4th. I was going to let the board decide. And the other guy that I wanted, who I'm way more high on everybody else, I listened to your crash course and you guys were poo-pooing on him. I'm going to take Blake Horvath as my QB2. I'm very aggressive. He is my QB number 3. I am higher than I think anyone else out there in the consensus. I love their strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I don't think you guys talked about enough on your crash course, 1 year ago, one of the things you love to talk about on Chasing the Natty was year 2 leaps for coaching systems.
Agreed.
That's what I'm viewing at Navy. You got year 2 of a good coordinator, and every major offensive weapon from last year is back.
So I'll ask you this, though, Joe. Blake Horvath finished as QB 32 on the year last year. Do you know what he was second half of the season?
I don't have that number in front of me.
He was QB 96. Kind of fell off towards the second half of the year.
I don't remember. I think he might have been dinged up for part of that, but I'm going to invest in this idea. I think Navy's taking a year 2 leap. I'm once again, too, when you make projections, you have to assume a guy's going to stay healthy. You can't project, I think he'll be hurt for 3 weeks.
No, I mean, I agree.
And another thing that I look at, I don't get as uptight about the 3 bye weeks as some other people might. My personal philosophy on it, like I mentioned, I love Navy's schedule and their strength of schedule versus run defenses.
Mm-hmm.
You have other guys who may only have 2 bye weeks. Let's take John Mateer. Okay, he only has 2 bye weeks, but he definitely has more games that will be bad matchups than Navy will have. So I kind of just view that extra bye week like a guy who just has a bad matchup. You know, like, okay, I don't want to start Mateer against Georgia. That's the way I view a third bye week. There you go. So that's just the little different approach I take. The one thing I would throw out there, which and I know a lot of the underdog people that do a lot of underdog content talk about it, like bye weeks in the playoffs can mean a bigger deal. You know, so I would actually put more in that than like.
I mean, not for a competition like this, because like there's no. Yeah, in a regular draft, I would agree with you, right? Like that is a very big deal. But for like a best ball like this, like I don't care what weeks are off. Again, it's all like. But I totally understand your point about the 3 bye week thing. I do think people kind of read into it a little bit too much, because I thought the same thing about Avery Johnson. And in my rankings, like I do count like the fact that, like, you know, he only plays 11 games versus the other guys play 12, and that does knock guys like him down a bit in my rankings. But at the same time, like, is there a single matchup that you're sitting there being like, I don't want to play Avery Johnson?
Exactly.
Do you know you're getting 11 weeks out of him?
I love these Big 12 offenses because I love the way that conference stacks up against each other. Like, you know, there might be some of those where it's just like, Utah, maybe not. You know, like something like that.
No, definitely agree. All right. By the way, again, to go further on your Horvath pick, again, I poo-pooed him, and he's definitely lower in my rankings than probably should be. But like again, I trust my projections. Probably shouldn't. But there's so much upside there. Like you said, I agree with you. Year 2 leap could absolutely happen. They saw Bryson Daly finish top 10 in Heisman voting last year. You don't think there's a little bit of rivalry, like expectation there for them to sit there and be like, hey, if Daly can get top 10 in Heisman, let's see if we can get Horvath to New York.
No, better yet, the biggest rub, because they hate Navy, and you're on the clock, Jared.
I am.
Is that they can go, hey, Army, we just got a second Heisman winner. How many? I think Army has what? Does Army have 2? So that would tie them now?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head, but they're Thunder and Lightning backfield from the 1940s. I think they might have both won a Heisman at Army, and then we have Staubach from Navy.
Gotcha. But yeah, no, like in Horvath is your second quarterback, I'm totally fine with. I just wasn't. I'm not a big fan of people drafting Horvath as like your QB1. I think there's a little bit of risk there. And again, his touchdown, he will have some touchdown regression this year, I think.
There's some of that, but once again, though, like I said, everyone's back. Like I could see touchdown regression if he lost his top receiver. His top receiver's back. His top running back that helps open up the path for him is back. That's the one thing I don't think enough people talk about. It's like those other most important pieces. Donig did it again. I was all ready for Smothers. I'm not even given hints or nothing, but honestly, though,
I love you're getting sniped on the guys.
But this is just it. On my diary of a draft, man, I talk out my thought process every step of the way. So anyone, and I don't, anyone that watches my stuff regularly, you'll learn the guys I like. It's not that hard to do. I give out my playbook. I don't have one share of him yet, and I'm down to a group of guys that are all in the same tier. Give me a piece of that Southern Alabama backfield. I don't know how I've not gotten Bullock yet, but I'll take him.
Saber, by the way, a great question here. I should probably have mentioned this at the top of the show. I should probably describe exactly what kind of draft we're doing here. So for those of you who have not tuned in for one of these shows before, what we're doing here, we are doing what is essentially a 30-round best ball, $5 buy-in, a little incentive for people to take it seriously. Winner, first place takes the whole pot kind of deal. 30 rounds. The starting lineup is 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 flex off the top of my head. Doesn't really make that much of a difference in my opinion. And then, did I say 1 tight end? And 4-point passing touchdowns, full point PPR for best ball here. Trying to think if there's anything else really to describe there. I think everything else is kind of your typical standard fantasy lineup there. Joe, I don't like you, man. I was just I'm about to be free from this anti-RB hell that I've been put myself in, and I started loading up my queue with some running backs that I think are pretty solid values to fall this late. And
there's other guys I really like that I tell everybody, if I put someone in a tier, I view them as equal. Draft who you like best, even if it's not in the order of my rankings. And I skipped several guys that I have been getting a lot of shares in just because, like I said, I've not had one share in Bullock. I kind of and I love that scenario. I think he's definitely going to be a bell cow. And also, since we don't know exactly how the quarterback situation is going to look, that offense may lean on the running game a bit more while that passing game is trying to mature in those first couple, first part of the season.
Let's see, more questions. Adam Huddle, you kind of touched on this already, Joe, but if you want to give your thoughts again real quick after you gave your pick. But Adam Huddle is asking about your Steyr Gaines pick there in the second round. He specifically says, what kind of upside does he need to reach for you to feel good about that risk in the second round?
If I just do a real quick look, and I know I'm on the clock, I know exactly who I'm taking here. So I would have to adjust my setup right now, but I mean, I'm running a little low on time here. I haven't done an updated projection yet, so I don't have that where I can kind of point to here. I'm going to make my pick, and a guy that I have currently ranked as my wide receiver 8. I think he's criminally underrated. And for my first wide receiver, I'm going to take Cameron out of Baylor. With Gaines, I'm just thinking it's one of those. Jared and I had talked about this all the way back in, if you want to call it early spring, but when you look at this backfield, everyone all year has agreed Steyr Gaines is the best talent, hands down. Malik Sherrod, Jean-Bray DeBar, they're also very good. Sherrod has more experience. But if you're looking at a guy who really, if there's a guy who can quote unquote take the ball and run with it in this backfield, it's him. The coaches have been, we didn't see him practice all spring, but he's been hanging around Boise all summer. Reports have been coming out, trickling out. He's already fully healthy. He's going to be full speed by the time fall camp opens. The thing that really jumped out to me, and being an old coach, I was like, this is exactly what I want to see in a guy I'm willing to lean on. Everyone else went home for 4th of July, and Gaines stayed in Boise and was working out. They're sitting there going, who's the one dude in the weight room? Oh, it's Steyr? This tells me this dude's also motivated. He's got that drive to be the guy. And the biggest thing that jumped out to me when I looked at all 3 of these backs, and if there's anyone who could be a major player fantasy-wise, is that when you watched Ashton Genty, he had to break multiple tackles to get a lot of runs. And Gaines is the only one I think has that skill set that he can break a tackle 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, break a tackle 1 yard past the line of scrimmage to gain 6. I don't think Sherrod or Dubar have that same ability.
I mean, yeah, you'll have no argument from me that if Gaines is healthy, he's the best running back in this backfield. Again, we'll see how he looks after the whole, missing nearly a year after injury and everything. Again, obviously great news that he's sticking around, getting in that weight room, trying to get himself back into shape and everything. I'm just hesitant to take a guy that high who missed all of spring.
I just got a great perfect comparison here. Like I said, it was that work ethic thing that stood out to me about that 4th of July news thing that slipped out. And there was another guy who didn't really make fantasy waves. He blew out his knee, was out for a full year, but his work ethic, and he worked his butt off going through the full year recovery. And that year he came back, he tore up all of college football. And that was John Ross, wide receiver at Washington.
Fair.
He was the top dude. He got drafted way too high for the NFL because of how good he did that year when Washington first made the playoffs. But it was from me just knowing Washington, that was the exact same work mentality that John Ross had before he came back and was one of the top fantasy wide receivers. So it's just like I said, as a coach, I'm like, I'll take a piece of that. I'm willing to lean into that.
All right, we'll catch up on the chat here real quick.
Yep.
Coach Rowe says fantasy football is for clowns. Joe, do you have your clown nose? Because I need to go grab mine real quick.
Hey, all I can say is I'm a former Division I football coach, and I love it. I just didn't have the time to do it while coaching. So it's not for clowns. It's just for those of us that love to yell at the TV saying, score, score. No, not you.
And then I'll explain my last two picks here because again, I do think it's an interesting topic here about me waiting for running back so long. Who do I go for here? Once again, the safety at running back's gone. There's not much in terms of me being able to grab guys that I know for a fact are going to lead their backfields and such. And so all I could do really is, one, go for a guy like Kyson Brown who's replacing Cam Scattaboo, a legend, and hope we can get, 70% of that volume that Scattaboo got last year. So I felt pretty good about that. I grabbed Cam Cook, loved the system there with Clinton Trickett. And here's the other thing that went through my mind as I was deciding which running backs I was going to get. If you follow my rankings closely, I actually went outside of my rankings here. And the thing I think you have to do at this point, if you're going to wait on running back, you have to play the ADP game a little bit. Because in order to maximize your running backs, if you're going to get them this late, you need to try to have some guys fall to you. You need to try to get lucky on a couple guys going at their later values and try to stack up as many guys as you like at the running back position if you're going to wait this long. So, Joe, you took more there. I guess your thoughts on that real quick.
Was debating to the last second if I wanted more or somebody else. Several guys I love right now, they're sliding back. Several guys I take lots of picks with. Corey more so when I'm getting a little more, gaining more and more shares as the summer's gone on. I still don't know how good the Oregon offense is going to be. I think there's a good chance it may be a good step down from what we've seen the last several years. But it literally feels like, Hughes we know will probably be solid, serviceable, good running back. You always have that concern about guys from the group of five moving up, but none of us think he's going to be bad. None of us think he'll be a dud. So I think, Hughes is the top guy that we feel like is the most stable thing. To me right now, the second most stable thing is I think Moore is hands down the wide receiver one. And even if that offense isn't as good as they're hoping it will be, that means that maybe they're starting to get behind the sticks more. Maybe they'll have to throw more. Also, when you're waiting on wide receiver, like this is my wide receiver too, a guy who could have what we would call Oregon wide receiver one upside. I'm just seeing that value more and more.
No, again, it's a Will Stein system. We've seen plenty of wide receivers come out of that system, both at his time at Oregon and at UTSA. They love to feed one guy. I'm of the opinion that Oregon's going to run the hell out of the ball this year. Again, when you have an unknown at quarterback in Dante Moore, I'm sure he's great. I'm sure he's going to perform fine. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't think Moore's going to flop or anything, but he's not, the veteran chip that you've gotten out of a guy like Dylan Gabriel or Bo Nix the last couple of years, right? You can't expect him to go out there and just start slinging it as a 5th, 6th year senior. So I think that, if Moore's as good as they say, Dante Moore will target him early and often. I like the pick there, wide receiver. You're back on here. Where are you going with this? By the way, great pick by Matthew Brooks there with Caden Lee. Shout out him.
I still have so many people here that I love at value, and like my gut tells me I'm not following any of my draft analysis, suggestions, and I'm just kind of like I just have so much value on the board, and I'm like, fine, I'll take him in the 9th round.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
Dadgummit. I was about to double tap.
That's who I was looking at in the
Smith.
8th. That's who I was looking at in the 8th. I was like, oh man, I really could use another wide receiver, but Day Rozier's is screaming at me.
I'm actually I'm in the same boat right now with the wide receiver where I'm like, I'm shocked this dude's still here in the 9th, and if he's there, I'll probably take him, even though I desperately need running backs.
I think I know exactly who it is.
Real quick before it gets to my pick here, Andrew Brock. Sorry you had to wait so long for your question here, man. But he says, I just don't get the love for Dylan Carson. Went 3-2 here. Always see him going in the 3rd. This is PPR. That is a very good point. Yep, I'm taking him.
Wingo? No.
Stribling. Yes, Andrew, you make a great point in the fact that, this is PPR. Carson should probably be going a little bit lower in this format because dude won't catch any balls in that system. That's just not what the Air Force Superback does. I still think, drafting him pretty high is warranted in a format like this. Dude has 300 carry upside. We've seen it before with that system. I think they've wanted to get him there last couple of years. It just hasn't been able to, it hasn't really been able to get on track. They were terrible last year. They couldn't run the system they wanted to at all. And it wasn't until the very end when they got things going once again. And we saw, once they got things going, they were ready to give Carson 20 carries. And so...
One big thing I've noticed, more I looked into Air Force and Carson. So I have Carson ranked running back 25. I have him with just over 250 carries, 1,200 yards. So what I'm about to say isn't diminishing Carson. But I think maybe part of the reason, too, of why we didn't see certain things from Carson last year, and I remember seeing somewhere coaching comments about this will continue into this year, is that coaching staff really likes Owen Allen, who plays the same position. So they work Owen Allen in there, and he does pull Carson off the field, which I do think limits him a bit. That's where I can't see. I mean, once again, I'm giving Dylan Carson 256 carries. But I've got Owen Allen, who plays the same position, at 93 carries. I think that's the main reason. I don't think enough bring it up, but the coaching staff really likes Owen Allen, and notes for the future. Owen Allen is the guy to own, and not this year, but give it some time. They're suiting him to be that next guy.
Jake, you didn't have to do that to me, man. I was hoping to get Gauss there.
Yeah, Jake, I like that pick. He was another one of these value guys I keep staring at, and I'm like, how do I not take him right now?
All right, well, I'll take a guy here. Another guy replacing a bell cow back here in Lincoln Pear. Again, dude was getting 20 carries alongside Ishmael Mahdi at the end of the season. They talk about a committee there, but you don't give a guy 20 carries to in multiple games to finish the season without planning on potentially him being, at the very least, your lead back in the same way Mahdi was. So Perry is a guy that I'm happy to take here as my 3rd running back. Again, I'm going to have to shoot for the moon on some of these running back picks here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. So Lever, good pick with Wingo. I was looking at him because he was screaming great value. Even though I love some of these I still have running backs I want to take right now. And I just feel like I need to play ADP game. We're in the 10th round. And I don't know how great of a ceiling he's going to have. Oh, they're 2 guys, but I'm going to make Eric Froton very happy. And I'm going to take one of his favorites, Jacoby Lane, my wide receiver 3.
I think there's a nice stack you can get with that in this range as well.
Oh, yeah, I could stack another receiver with him.
Stack another receiver? You can stack a quarterback with him?
I could stack a tight end with him.
You could stack a tight end with him.
I could stack Abu Sama with him.
The well-known the well-known fantasy strategy of stacking tight ends with wide receivers.
Exactly. So, guys, please take McCray. Please take him away from me.
Let's see.
Please take Eli Sanders from me, so I cannot stack him with Jacoby Lane.
Let me make sure I'm checking the chat here, make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, I'm doing a bad job watching
James Gallagher says, I know you're a Georgia guy, Jared. Is Frazier the only draftable guy? I mean, high in drafts, yes, I would say so. And even then, as a Georgia guy, I don't think I have a single share of Frazier this year. I know people kind of see that backfield and see it as empty, but Roderick Robinson's health has been actually very good coming back into the season here. And so he'll be involved. They bring in Josh McCray. Again, obviously Frazier's still going to be the lead guy. He's got immense ceiling. But he does have a fumbling issue. That if he can't get that under control, it'll really cap his ceiling in terms of how many carries they're going to be willing to get him per game. And that could really derail where his value is going right now. But in terms of other draftable guys, again, in a 30-round draft, take a shot on either Delp or Lucky. Again, they'll have big weeks. Let me be very clear, neither one of them are Bowers. But at the same time,
I don't think we'll see that again.
They'll have the room's too talented for it. Like again, even behind those guys, you have Jaden Reddle. They just brought in Ethan Barber and Ellis Williams this year. Like it's too much for any one guy to break away from that team or break away from that room.
Oh, and another thing I do like there too, there's a lot of pass attempts. It's just, can they get funneled enough to some guy?
Yeah. Well, and I don't even know if the pass attempts will really be there this year with Gunnar Stockton. Don't be wrong, I love Gunnar. I'm excited for him to lead the team this year, but you're definitely going to see some passing volume dialed back for Georgia this year. I think we saw last year, Georgia couldn't run the ball nearly as well as they had in years past, and it bit them several times. And so, I think that's going to be a key for them this year is getting that run game started early and often. Big part of that will be Gunnar running the ball as well. And so, passing game, I think, dials back a little bit. Maybe you get more efficient passes than what we saw with Carson Beck last year, but even so, I agree. We'll see. We'll see.
I really don't like where I'm at right now. I'm making my pick. I don't like the type of run I'm seeing develop on the board. There are other people I want to draft that are at better value, better ADP. And it's just one of those, do I follow ADP? So hope somebody slips, but it's the long term for me, not the short term for me. You know what? There's some question marks with issues of him, but I love his upside, and I am going to make Eric Froton, again, very happy. I'm taking Le'Veon Moss. There's so many guys I want to take right here, but I'm just that's the funny thing. I got to take running backs early, and I'm still taking them.
Yeah. Again, there's some decent value on the board right now. Let's see. Before I get to more questions, though, Brett does point out we are already a third of the way through the draft, and you guys know what that means. It's time for me to remind you guys that if you have not already, make sure you like the video, like the stream. It helps us get promoted in front of the eyes of people who might be interested in this kind of stuff. It helps us out a lot. It's free. It's one click for you guys, so go ahead and do that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you are not already, we are getting ever so closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I will be very excited because we'll be the first college fantasy only channel to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I think will be absolutely awesome. Huge. And so I'm very, very excited about that. So if you have not already, if you have not subscribed to the channel, help us out by doing that. And then, yeah, again, keep the questions coming, guys. I love the chat tonight. You guys are doing such a phenomenal job bringing up tons of great questions. And we'll start with this next one. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was about to say, why don't I take over a question while you draft here? You got 25 seconds.
Oh, perfect. Easy pick.
Yeah. I did see a question about, is Teron Stewart, running back from Virginia Tech, being undervalued? And I'm going to sit there and give you an answer of, I think that's a really good question. I think there's a potential ceiling there where there's a good chance it could be committee, but I don't remember if it was the Bud Scott summer school session or where I saw or heard it, but the idea was, if there's someone who will get more of a lion's share of carries, not a bell cow, but more of a lion's share of carries, it would be Teron Stewart. At the same time, we want to see him show up at practice, and we want to get practice reports. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
For me right now, I have him as my running back 70 with 186 carries versus the running back 2 with 142. I can see that gap widening as we get more news in the next handful of weeks. But I agree with you. I think that there is potential for Stewart's value to go up. The problem is drafting right here tonight. Do do you want to draft on faith or do you want to draft on what's evident to you right now? And right now, I would say Stewart is probably at about appropriate value. If you want to draft on faith, I do that way with certain guys. I will tell you, take the leap. Like take an appropriate leap. Don't draft him in the 12th, but I do see upside there. I agree with you. I do think that there is upside.
Dang it.
I love your Joe Royer pick there, Jared.
Thank you. Again, I saw the tight ends kind of fall in there, and I was like, especially in a full PPR league, I'll happily take Royer, and I'll probably, again, I don't have any safety at running back, so we're gonna shoot for upside. Give me Poffenbarger out of North Texas to add to my QB room here. I'll throw my quick thoughts on Terry and Stewart as well, and then we gotta actually go back in the chat a little bit to answer some other questions. But Colin, I pretty much agree with everything Joe says. That like if there's a guy to draft at Virginia Tech, it is Stewart, but the beat reporters have been pretty dang clear that they don't expect any kind of bell cow for Virginia Tech this year. Now, granted, like we said, Stewart hasn't been on campus. They haven't seen him. That could change in the fall. But as of right now, I am treating this like a committee situation. That is the way that the beat reporters have been describing it. We are talking about a G5 to Power 4 transfer here, right? Again, that has historically not been a great place to look for in college fantasy.
Jared. Hold on. He's transferring from the SEC, remember?
Arian Stewart?
Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, I'm confusing him with, all right, concussion moment. He just went to Georgia State, right?
You're thinking of Rashad Amos?
Rashad Amos. That's what I was thinking.
No,
Rashad
Amos. We're not dealing with that at all, bro.
No.
But no, again, like Stewart to find value later on in drafts. He's a guy that I absolutely will be considering in this draft at some point because I have to shoot for upside later on. And, if there's a guy in that backfield that could get a lion's share carry like Tootin did last year, he's the guy, but I'm not drafting him high at all. Let's see. What other questions we got here? James Gallagher says, are Stribling and Lee both potential top 20 wide receivers at Ole Miss? James, you're going to love the CTN episode tomorrow because I actually directly talk about these two in our wide receiver crash course video. And my stance has been the entire season, like people are like, want to take a stance on Stribling or Lee. I say, porque no los dos, right? Like I'm like the little girl from the taco commercial. Like, why can't we have both? Like, I think that there's a decent chance that both of those guys get funnel targets. I like Stribling over Harrison Wallace on the outside there. I think he fits perfectly what Lane Kiffin wants to do on the outside. Do I think either of these guys are Trey Harris? Absolutely not. But I think there's enough volume. I think they'll pass enough that they'll both finish pretty highly. I've got Stribling at wide receiver 14, and I've got, where is Lee? I got wide receiver 18. So again, my rankings say yes, they have potential to finish top 20. I think that it's most likely they both finish top 36, and they're still weekly starters for you in CFF. Because Ole Miss is gonna pump up numbers every single week, and those guys will both find the end zone plenty of times.
That fits in line with what I'm looking at here. And I'm going to re-sum up kind of what Jared's saying with some other things he said in the past. Like, Stribling is the system pick. That's the wide receiver role they prefer to throw to. But, to quote you, Jared, a year ago, but you don't understand. With Arizona, they're roommates. They're best friends. He's going to definitely throw to this guy. That's kind of like this like just kind of combination of like bonding thing that you have with the quarterback position, Caden Lee. Yep. I've put Caden Lee as a wide receiver 1 for that, but I could flip these two guys at like as soon as I hear news. I could flip them easily, but I have them at number 9 and number 32. So exactly what you said, top 36 guys for both of them. Yep. Oh man, M. Brooks double tapped tight end there. That sneaky devil. I'm like sitting there licking my chops, like, all right, I've got guys lined up. I'm gonna get who I want here.
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to make sure that Matthew actually considered the bye weeks there because I thought about taking Endries as well until I realized that Joe Royer and him have the same bye week, and so I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. There's some bad for good tight ends. There's some really bad week overlaps with those bye weeks.
Yeah, if you're gonna double tap tight end like that, I've seen that more and more recently where people do that in this range. Again, I get it. If value falls, like why not? But at the same time, you got to double check those bye weeks before getting into it. I see a couple of people discussing Devontae Ross at Penn State, and it does sound like there's a little bit of buzz on him. But like, guys,
it's Penn State.
It's Penn State. He's a five. What how big is Devontae? He's not big. Devontae Ross.
While you're looking that up, so I was hoping Endries would fall to me. I'm probably one of the top people in the Jack Endries fan club since he transferred to Texas. But like I just was sitting there going like okay, only two guys I think might draft tight ends between my 12th and 13th round pick, which is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get Endries or Velling. And Velling's one of those guys. He keeps sliding, and he might be the best value, steady Eddie guy who actually has some upside to his ceiling this year if the quarterback play improves. So, like, he's a guy I happily let fall to me. If that run starts and I want to wait one round, like I did here, for those of you watching, I'm drafting in the 5 spot. So as it's going around, and it's what I call the short turn. There's only 4 people in between my picks there, I could be willing to let something slide there. And that's kind of the way I was, where I was like, hey, all right, I'll instead of taking Endries in the 12th, I feel like I could get Endries or Velling in the 13th versus if the draft was going the other way around, which it is right now. Right now, for me, this is the long turn. I would have probably just taken Endries and not risked, because there's too many picks in between, like hoping someone slides. And I love your show and I watched the live draft, but I don't think maybe some people talk some of the basic strategy like that. If you're in what I like to break up the draft board in thirds. So the first 4 guys, the middle 4 guys, and the back 4 guys. So like when you have the short turns and the long turns, when should you take the risk to try and let a guy slide? And when should you just say, I want to take who I want to take?
Well, speaking of that, let me tell you guys about an awesome tool we have over at campus2canton.com, which is our draft predictor tool. It's my baby. I love it because I was the one who came up with the calculus behind it and everything. But it is exactly what Joe kind of describes as well, where you can it's basically ADP plus, and it really not only takes into account just the average of where guys go, but it really kind of takes into account the range in which guys go, right? Because you can have guys like, Jordan Lyle just now, right? Like, I've seen him come off the board in the top 10 rounds before. I've seen him fall all the way to the round 20. Meanwhile, a guy like Katron Allen, he's going to go in about round 10 to 13 pretty much every draft that I'm in, right? ADP might have those guys around the same range, but my draft predictor tool will be able to capture that range a lot better. Basically, all you need to do is plug in what draft pick your draft is at, what your next pick is, and plug in a player, and you will know roughly the percentage chance that player will get back to you. And it is great, like Joe said, for when you're on these turns. You have the short turn, long turn. Those long turns, man, you're trying to decide who to go with. Plug both those guys into the draft predictor tool, and it gives you a really good idea of which guy's actually more likely to make it back to you on the next turn. So something to help you out. Brett says Jared finds a way to promote. Listen, man, I love that. Hey,
that's what you're supposed to do. Come on now.
All right. It's
like when he says like and subscribe. Yeah, you guys should like and subscribe. And you should also like and subscribe to Let Purple Rain podcast on YouTube and also on Spotify.
Absolutely. All right. I'm double tapping running back here. Again, I
like the Elijah Green pick. I'm high on him too.
I don't like getting out of the top 15 rounds with at least half of my running backs. Normally, I'm already sitting here at like 7 running backs by this point. But yeah, I'm loading up on running backs in these middle rounds. I'll keep going after guys that probably, again, I'm probably reaching on when it comes to ADP wise, but I'm shooting for upside with a guy like Javian Thomas, but I'm also shooting for a guy that I think is kind of being criminally underrated. I think he's the top guy at Sam Houston, Phil Longo, RB1.
Yep. Longo trusts him because of their history. That's one thing that I don't think enough people talk about.
Agreed. Again, this is a perfect scenario where Longo calls up Green and says, "Hey, we worked well back at North Carolina. Sorry it didn't go well at Indiana. Why don't you come to Sam Houston for a year? Let's put up 1,500 yards. See if we can get the NFL to notice you." Who knows? All right, let's see. Again, double checking the chat here. Oh, Out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports, if you are still listening, I'm sorry I didn't get to your question until now. Again, you guys are doing great with the questions. It's hard to keep up here today.
Yeah, because the draft's moving pretty quickly, too.
Yeah, draft's moving great.
To our drafters.
But he says, what do you guys think of Retzlaff with the move to Tulane? Think they will open up the pass game a little bit more now since your boy moved to Oregon? I don't know who moved to Oregon, but Retzlaff at Tulane is a huge jump for that offense. the quarterbacks they brought in between Simonza and Leary really sounds like it wasn't working out. It really sounds like Finley was their guy. He got involved in his stupid stuff, and they were really struggling when it came to Simonza versus Leary. They were really hoping that by some miracle, one of those guys was going to make a big jump. If you listen to the G5 High podcast, that was basically the entire sentiment during that show. If you read the reports that came out of it, it was the exact same thing. You bring in Retzlaff, he plays this year, which we don't entirely know if he will or not. I think they're leaning towards that he will play this year. He will immediately boost that offense compared to whatever Leary or Simonza was going to bring it to. Do I think that boosts any of their wide receivers or anything? I don't necessarily think so. But, maybe I'm more interested in Amari Haynes towards the end of drafts because of it. But Retzlaff should be able to perform well if he's there. If he can perform well in the Big 12, he'll tear up the American.
I just personally feel like if you're in an all FBS draft, there's so many other better systems you can invest in. I just ignore the passing game completely from Tulane for this system. That's just my approach.
But the rushing potential is still there with Retzlaff, and
Dynasty Pros. All right, I had Mendoza all queued up, and you stole him from me. All right, you know what? And this is a tough one because there's a lot of different ways I can go, and I want to spread some wealth out here and get some different shares. I'm going to go way different than my rankings here. Man, but I'm getting caught on the spot, so I'm talking it out since I can, and no one can snipe me right now. I'm just double checking some other ADP, man.
While you're discussing that,
I'm going to draft. I'm just going to draft with my heart. I was thinking of stealing someone that Jared might want to take. And I am going to break from my rankings, but I'm going to draft with my heart. I just really like Brandon Lewis.
I mean, stack him with DeRosier, one of those two, or obviously Smith. You might want to grab Smith. That way, you just grab every rushing attempt in that offense.
You never know.
So again, we had a question from Donald Giebel quite a while back. Again, sorry, y'all. We're struggling to keep up with the questions tonight, but that's a good thing. It's a lot of topics to cover tonight. He asks, how many fantasy relevant wide receivers will Colorado have this year? I think they will have one. I see the argument for almost all three of them. I say almost. I get the argument mostly for Amari and Miller and Joseph Williams. Amari and Miller, one, fits the kind of receiver that... Go ahead and draft. Fits the kind of receiver that Salter relied on at Liberty, and CJ Daniels, that deep outside threat that you can just bomb it to. He's down there somewhere. I think that he'll have some really big weeks. Joseph Williams, very much that, he was a deep threat at Tulsa as well, but I think he's got that ability to really be more than a one-trick pony compared to Amari Miller, where he can kind of be that middle range guy, and I think that's kind of the sweet spot, which is why I think Joseph Williams goes where he does compared to the other two. Then there's Draylen Miller. I know a lot of people are kind of hyped on him. I personally don't quite see it. Again, I get it in the fact that, LeJontay Wester played really well last year. But you look at Draylen Miller's efficiency last year, he was getting very short ADOT targets, so not very high-value targets. His average yards per catch is about 8.7. That's not something that I really want to rely on. Maybe in a PPR format, I'd be more okay with it, but when he's got two legitimate options on the outside, and that's where Salter's most comfortable passing the ball, I don't know. I think Miller's definitely a distant third for me in terms of that Colorado wide receiver room. What about you, Joe? How do you fall with those guys?
Well, I've talked about it a lot through the spring and the summer. I just have more question marks than answers about what the Colorado offense is going to be this year.
Well, now we got the news with Deion Sanders as well.
Well, I was going to say, even before that, there was news of, it sounds to me like this quarterback position is still wide open.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not an assumption Salter's the guy either. So it just that added another question mark.
Yep.
Deion's health adds multiple question marks. Also, for all we know, if Deion's not there, Pat Shurmur can do whatever he wants. For all we know, this could be the greatest offense of all time. We have no clue what may happen here. Yep. I've just been taking a mostly hands-off approach. I think I've only grabbed one share of Williams, and that's it for any Colorado player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind taking on risk, but there are so many variables here that you could go other ways with a guy that maybe in your eyes isn't as high in rankings, but has less question marks.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's just really tough because the other problem is how many of these Colorado guys really slip to, let's say, the last 6 rounds of a draft where you're willing to take on that bigger risk.
Yep.
Not very many of them are, or the options that are left you don't want. So that's part of why I'm just, my attitude about Colorado this year is I'm going to stay away until I start hearing, as Jared likes to say, a steady drumbeat of news about something specific and concrete before I'm willing to invest in it.
No, I think that's a totally fair way to go. Again, I kind of sprinkle my shares here and there. I've got some Williams, I've got some Amari Miller. I don't think I have any Draylon Miller, although he does go the latest among the three. So if you just want to take that strategy and just draft the guy that goes the latest, I don't blame you whatsoever. If you really think that all three of those guys are relatively equal. Let's see, any more questions here? Got a lot of shout outs to Tom having a really solid draft. Let's see. Oh, gotcha. Out of Rhythms. I get what you're saying now, Out of Rhythm, where before when he's talking about somebody going to Oregon, he was talking about Mekhi Hughes going to Oregon. That makes more sense. I get what he was trying to say there now. I'll discuss my last 2 picks here real quick. Landon Sides, 15th round. I feel excellent about that. Again, I'm not trying to grab a ton of wide receivers here, but I'm just taking the value as it falls to me. And if you listen to tomorrow's CTN episode, I go in depth on Landon Sides and Miles Coleman in that North Texas wide receiver room and why I think that Landon Sides is infinitely better of a pick than Miles Coleman. And so be sure to tune in.
I think that's a legitimate handcuff situation still. I'm right there with you. I can't say you have to go all in on one guy yet.
I'm pretty all in on Landon Sides over, like, if you're going to ask me between those two, which one would I rather go all in on? I'd rather go Landon Sides. The outside wide receivers for Eric Morris eat. Even last year, I know, DT Sheffield led the team in targets by the end of the year. But whenever Damon Ward was out there, he was the one getting targeted, even though he had like a 20% drop rate. He sucked. Like,
he dropped the ball or he was hurt.
Like they were trying to feed him when he was out there.
When you start really looking into wide receiver roles and targets and things like that, last year's North Texas offense was an anomaly year. But I really kind of feel it that way. Like, it literally would change week to week when you don't seem to see that as much anywhere else. And I think I'm about to get the guy. I set myself up. I set myself up for a Duke stack, and I'm taking it. I'm high on both of these dudes. Really, I would draft these guys even higher if I just went based on my rankings. I waited, played ADP. And actually, one of those other quarterbacks I was considering was drafted right behind me there, Hunter Watson. I'm right there with you. I'm a big Hunter Watson fan. But I mean, Hunter Watson, Duke Mensah, Brandon Lewis, like a lot of these guys, Jackson Arnold, I was looking at. We have a lot of quarterbacks going off the board right now, and a lot of them are pretty comparable. Even Jalen Raynor, who we talked about earlier. There's a lot of guys kind of going off in this range that, even I'm a little down on the quarterback position from Ohio State, but Julian Sain, an Ohio State quarterback in the 16th round, like that could still be great value. So there's a lot of good quarterback picks happening right now. We got a good little run that started from about midway through. Really, it started from my pick of Brandon Lewis, and it's kind of trickling its way out across several. But we also have a good wide receiver run going on right now.
God, I wanted to take a quarterback here that I actually haven't gotten a lot of shares of this year. I don't even really like him that much, but for best ball, I think he's great as like your 4th quarterback option. But these bye weeks, man, they're just not falling my way. And the quarterback that is available is just not great for me in terms of a 4-point passing touchdown. So I'll just take a second tight end here. I'll take Blake Bosma. I'll take a second guy that I think has a potential to lead his team in receiving, and just go with that. There goes Beck afterwards. Yeah. That was the other quarterback that I was considering.
Yeah.
But again, a 4-point passing touchdown, just wasn't nearly as excited about that. I probably waited a little bit too long here to grab more quarterbacks because, again, I'm looking at the guys that are left.
I was seeing that. That's why I jumped into it in the 15th. I'm like, oh, shoot.
Don't love what I'm looking at here. There goes Marchiol. This is about to be a disastrous turn for me, I bet. But it's fine. I don't regret taking Bosma. I think he's great.
I'm going to tell you this, Jared. They will not snipe, and they will let you have Miller Moss. I know how much you love Miller Moss, especially in this format.
No, but here's the thing. I actually think Miller Moss is perfect for that offense. The problem is I don't think that offense is a CFF goldmine for quarterbacks. That really ever has been. Like, Aiden O'Connell had one great year, and that was really it.
I broke it down. No quarterback has ever hit 300 fantasy points in a season.
I know,
None.
again, Aiden O'Connell made a top 24 quarterbacks one year. That's because he just threw a ridiculous number of touchdowns.
Yeah, and he was the one who came the closest, and it was like 290 something points. And I do that off of 4-point passing. So the same scoring system we're using here, but that's just it. It's like I think I agree with you. Miller Moss will be a good fit as long as he doesn't have the interception problems. I do like him as like a guy that can be kind of a hole plugger, for the guys above him on your roster.
A hole plugger. What a fantasy term.
Exactly. Could be another term too, but this is a family-friendly program.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that. Colin, I'll answer your question first here, even though, James, I see you got the question on Miami running backs here, but Colin did ask about this guy earlier. So, and again, y'all, if you put a question in the chat and we don't get to it for a long time, please feel free to ask it again in the chat.
Yeah.
That way we make sure that we get to it. Again, it is no hard feelings on our end. It is actually very helpful for us. So, Colin, I'll answer your question about Landon Sims here. Landon Sims went early on in this draft. Let's see. He was taken, there he is, at the 8-6. And, he was disappointing last year. I took a look at last year's stats, and he finished as tight end 66, right? A lot of people were thinking, tight end eligibility, RB1 for Hawaii. That's a shoo-in. That's great value, right?
This is the running back for Hawaii.
But here's the thing, Joe. Here's the thing.
I could run for as many yards as they do.
You don't need... Oh, Rock... Really? God dang it, Carp. Come on, man.
Hey, take Eli Holstein then.
I can't because I actually want to. He's my top quarterback on the board, but he's got a week 11 bye and already got 2 guys on week 11 buys.
Then go with Nico.
I considered it, but I'm going to go a different guy. Actually, I'm going to go Baron Morton. I already got one former Zach Kittley quarterback, or I got the current Zach Kittley quarterback. Give me the former guy that has Matt Leftwich.
All right.
That is going to help me get a potential top 12 quarterback there. But anyway, back to Landon Sims here. We don't need much out of a guy with tight end eligibility, right? You give me 400 yards. I feel pretty good about that at tight end. Here's the thing. Landon Sims got there last year. He had 153 receiving yards and just over 350 rushing yards. So he got about 500 total yards. His big problem is he had 1 touchdown throughout the year. Does that get fixed this year? I think it's worth a shot to see if it does. Again, Alejado can rush. That's going to be a problem for him. So, God knows how many rushing touchdowns you can expect Hawaii to get this year. And it's pretty clear that Landon Sims is not a guy that they're throwing to around the goal line or anything like that. They got the receivers at that point. But if he can get some touchdown regression, he can definitely finish higher than what he did last year. Is just a question of, is it enough to get him into the top, 24 tight ends to where you can feel decent about starting him week to week? I don't know if we'll get there. Again, I definitely wouldn't have drafted him as high as he went in this draft, and that's no hard feelings to lever here. I don't blame somebody for taking a shot at the, the eligibility potential cheat code there, but I just don't really see a path to him right now, reaching, because he's technically... It's a
big roll of the dice. It's it's kind of like, and you're talking about a guy...
Yeah, he's tight end 2 off the board.
I mean, you're
tight
talking
end 3,
about someone who plays in a position that's one of the worst spots to play in that offensive system. Running back at Hawaii, I'd rather just not take a draft pick than have to draft one. It's like drafting the wide receiver 1 from Army. I'd just rather not.
Yeah.
And so, son of a... All right, Drew, you got me there. I was waiting on Sutton Smith for this round. I tried to wait on the short turn.
Nope.
All right. Well, if I'm going to go back to running back, I'm going to take a guy I've been really high on.
Is it really a short term when you're at the 5? I feel like that's...
No, because I have 4 teams.
Yeah, I know, but if you're in the middle of the draft...
Compared to the other side where I have 7 teams that each get 2 picks.
Yeah, I get the numbers. I get the numbers.
No,
I'm just saying, it's not that much of a
position.
difference between the 2. 2 extra
if
picks.
I'm going to roll the dice, I'm going to play the odds. I'm going to take a running back here that I've been high on for quite a while, and I'm starting to feel like the CFF community is starting to finally kind of catch up to where I've been at. I like OJ Arnold. I like him a lot. And I think he's way undervalued right now. So It was one of those. I had a lot of wide receivers I liked, and I really liked Tucker. Talking about my pick before that, I really like what this Coastal Carolina offense could be. But also at the same time, right now, okay, I didn't get a handcuff, a potential running back two who might not get 100 carries, but I did get OJ Arnold, who's going to be a starter. I'm
Yeah.
willing to take that risk.
No, definitely agree. And speaking of, once again, I'm back here at running back. I've got a mix of some late round guys that I think are being slept on, but I'm also going to start taking some shots at some high upside potential here.
Mm-hmm.
And that will start with Rodney Fields out of Oklahoma State. Just taking a shot at the Mike Gundy running back system there.
Shoot,
He's got the most buzz as of right now. I don't even know if I trust that buzz because, again, the Oklahoma State beat reporters are very weird sometimes. But for right now, that's the best information I got. In this kind of draft, I got to shoot for a guy that could, in a system that could potentially give me a top 5 running back.
That's one backfield I don't want to invest in yet because it's kind of one of those.
Oh, Jake, the one Finn pick, man, come on.
It's that Oklahoma State backfield is one of those things where it's like, okay, all these guys were practicing during the spring, and they go out and sign somebody else. I do, and we never heard someone broke away. Like when you start putting those pieces together, it doesn't scream like someone's really separating to me.
But
You might
that's
hear a
the
beat
thing.
reporter. You might hear a beat reporter say, "Well, but I kind of like this guy." But if the coaches actually believe that, would they have gone out and gotten Freddie Brock? That's one thing that I
That's the
find
weird
kind of
thing,
tough.
right? It's like
It's a bad taste in my mouth.
But like the weird thing about it is like they put Freddie Brock at like RB3, 4 in like the latest like depth chart articles, and you're just like, that doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right, but they're doing it because he hasn't played a snap of practice yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just it. When you ever if you have a position battle, great example and one that I'm going to be monitoring. I talked about it today on Fantasy Rain Rundown on my podcast channel. Go check it out if you haven't. As we said, we plug our stuff. I talked about it today. Position battles and the slot receiver from Miami. You had two guys competing for a job. Neither one of them stood out throughout spring ball, and they signed two more. Does that sound like one of the two who was already there was getting a leg up on the competition? It doesn't. So it's just kind of like, you have to put yourself in a coach's shoes. Why would they go sign some other guy unless it was someone that we all say oh yeah, he's just a depth piece. We're just worried about injuries.
Well, I was about to say, that's the thing you got to be careful of, right? Is you do have to look at that room and figure out, like, did they legitimately need to add depth, right? Because, again, you look at some of these back rooms and you're like, oh, yeah, shoot, they had 2-3 scholarship running backs on the roster. Yeah, it makes sense that they would go out and grab another guy, right? Obviously, the pedigree of the guy matters as well. It's like SMU is one of those situations, right, with TJ Harden, where I'm like, it kind of fits both categories of I think they needed depth. I think they needed depth because you have Derek McFall and Jameco Green as your top 2 running backs potentially. You bring in TJ Harden, who both has the potential to start, but also could be just valuable depth at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, those coaches are sitting there looking at. We have a true freshman and a wide receiver.
At running
we
back.
need depth. I don't think.
Or we need a true running back.
Yeah,
a guy like TJ Harden.
I don't think that Oklahoma State backfield was lacking depth. They have a decent amount of guys. The talent level of the guys could be argued, which also is another argument of this just might be a year to avoid the Oklahoma State backfield. I'm all on the Oklahoma State receivers, and I'm kind of ignoring their backfield this year.
But again, I actually talk about it on tomorrow's CTM. We do discuss the Oklahoma State wide receiver room, and it's such a cluster mess, dude. Like,
I don't know. I think it's 3 guys, and one of them we know is kind of solid because I talked about it today on Fantasy Rain Rundown. I agree with you. I think there's one solid guy, and then in my opinion, the other spot there's 2 guys.
Who's your one solid guy?
Lloyd locked in at the slot.
Nope. Actually, the beat reporter at 247 has him as a backup.
Really? Because that'd be the first time I've heard anything that kind of went against that.
Like, again, I'm telling you, the whole thing with Oklahoma State's super weird right now. They have Terrell Davis as a starter, and he came over from a Division II school. But Christian
once again, to go back to something that you mentioned, is there a steady drumbeat? I think we've had more steady drumbeat about Lloyd being consistent in that spot over the spring. I'm not going to dismiss and say, okay, 247 doesn't know what they're talking about, but if there's multiple reports of that guy, I'm definitely going to listen about that. But like that's the first I've heard.
Again, like it's super weird because it feels like I'm hearing a different name every single time. Now that could just be, that's Mike Gundy, right? Like he does all sorts of things, probably puts out a different lineup every single week, and God knows what we're going to see until week 1. Right. It could very well be that we're just overthinking it entirely. Because I agree with you. Like the 3 guys I'm interested in are one, Terrell Davis, because again, I have heard a decently steady drum beat for him over there. They seem to like him a lot. Jaden Lloyd is very interesting there as a potential slot guy. And then Christian Fitzpatrick coming over from Marshall. Like I feel like he doesn't fight.
Abshire.
Abshire
and Fitzgerald are my other 2.
Gotcha.
I'm not as familiar. Who was the second name you mentioned? I'm not as familiar off the top of my head. I want to look into that.
Terrell Davis out of Central Oklahoma.
Yeah, actually, Christian Fitzpatrick really interests me quite a bit there. Like he even has that frame of like when we think of the old outside Oklahoma State receivers, tall, lanky dudes, big strides. I'm like, I can just kind of see him in that mold, but at the same time, he hasn't practiced with them. Cam Abshire, I don't know if he practiced in the spring or not. I just haven't heard enough noise or anything reports to say like, oh, he's looking like he could be that top outside guy, but he has also the type of frame they like. He actually has a proven production level, even though I believe it was the D2 level.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those, like, he's one of those, I think there's the outside, there's a lot of options and ways it could play out. And I'm kind of like, I think we've talked about this in the past. If you want to bet on something, betting on the outsides.
All right. According to my stuff, that we are back. So for those of you in the chat, let us know when you hear us, and we will be good to go. All right, Donald says we are back. Awesome, great, appreciate it. Sorry, we lost some viewers there, but apologies to everybody. Let's get everybody back in here. Hopefully, we're
I'm on
good
the
to go.
clock and really debating what to do here.
You're on the clock. Interesting. My draft is still about four picks behind.
Yeah, I was about to say my draft's up to date, and
all right, hold on.
I know what I'm trying to find, and I don't remember if he was taken.
Oh, good Lord, Jesus Christ! All right, y'all be patient with me as I try to figure this out. Yeah, there we go.
Gone. So I just need to go back. I'm gonna just stick at receiver here a little bit because I'm having to play catch up, and while Jared's working on that, we were starting. We were talking about the Oklahoma State situation. It's just one of those things, guys, of even though I was starting to say I'm willing to invest in that wide receiver room more than the running back room, we don't know a whole lot about the quarterback situation either. So I admit there's a lot of risk, but at the same time, if you're taking them as one of your last wide receivers, I think it's worth the investment. My gut tells me, and we see this with the Oklahoma State running backs, to circle all the way back to the original question, either they have a bell cow or they're splitting carries. And my gut is just telling me either Freddie Brock comes in, dominates this competition in the fall, or it's a split carry. That's just where my gut's telling me how it would likely play out. Because if a guy who's there is going to be a bell cow, we would have heard it in the spring.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get things back over here. There we go.
I'm actually having to count my positions real quick because this draft's been going so fast that I haven't even been able to do that.
All right, my Q got the. I got Eakin taken from me. Dadgummit. I was really hoping
I was about to take him from you.
I wanted to get that stack there. We'll just go. We'll go Corey Milliner just to get things back up and running again. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get my stream back up. For some reason, that crash of Google Chrome just now. Just logged me out of all my accounts for some reason. So, that's how things go. What do I need a two-step verification for? God dang it. Why do we gotta make this more complicated than it has to be?
Jared believes in good safety and security of private information. That's why he does.
Save that information, whatever. What? No, Skip, I don't need to set a home address. Get out of here.
Anyways, though, guys, I'm going to try and take a look in the chat here because I'm not nearly as good.
Are we still live on your end, by the way, Joe?
I am seeing everything live, running, matching. What I'm seeing on YouTube is matching my draft screen.
Okay.
I'm going to go up and try and find another question here. Out of rhythm, if you're looking for a guy who has some rushing upside, that would be Colton Joseph from Old Dominion. He has some rushing upside, 11 touchdowns. And out of rhythm, I'm trying to see if you were commenting to somebody else. It looks like you're. Oh, I see something up there from you. Hold on.
All right, there we go.
So out of rhythm, I
We're
can't tell
back.
if you're mentioning that you think Colton Joseph has the upside, or if you're asking, is there someone else from there? I'm skimming, just trying to find other questions because obviously the chat was talking about our technical difficulties here. Split backfield with James, with a younger third back who isn't bad. Brett asked that, but I'm trying to see. Brett, if you don't mind tossing in the chat, which team were you bringing up when you asked split backfield with James?
It was or I don't know what James, but I do know that James Gallagher, so he was talking to James Gallagher, who asked about the Miami, Florida running backs.
Okay.
How are you? So again, James, sorry, once again, took us a while to get to your question here and everything. The technical difficulties just threw me off completely, and then Donald being a jerk and took Koike from me. Everything was spiraling out of control for me. But yeah, let's talk about the Miami running backs here, Joe. How are you breaking down that situation this year?
And that's a tough one for me. And last year we were hoping like, hey, there's going to be fantasy value here. And we just didn't see it. Instead, we saw a situation where they had a guy that we figured had all the talent that should get a big, heavy load of carries, share of carries. And the coaches instead were like, we want to emphasize more of a split carry approach, committee approach. And so for me, that's my starting point. I don't see a change in that trend because I don't see a guy who was even more talented than Damian Martinez. So I don't see between Fletcher and Lyle like one guy's going to get any more between the two. And I'm going to say this: it doesn't even matter whose name you put on which. This is kind of the way I'm viewing it. Like my projections, I have the RB1 at 133 carries and the RB2 at 109 carries. At that workload, my simple example is don't draft either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the simplest way I break it down. Like I just put Fletcher as running back one because he has seniority. And I'll wait for Lyle to get more news for me to flip it. But at the same time, like, I don't know if we're going to see enough news where I'm like, oh, yeah, you know what? Lyle's the running back one, and he's going to get 180 carries. I have a hard time making that leap.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to let you guys draft the Miami running backs while I go after other guys like O.J. Arnold.
Yeah, again, I'm the same way with the Miami running back room where if Damian Martinez couldn't be a CFF relevant option there last year, like I'm not going to trust anybody else to do so. If there is one guy that I am okay with people take a shot on, it is Jordan Lyle, who went pretty early in this draft, but I've seen him go much later in this in these formats already. I like his talent. I do think if there's
good upside.
If there's one guy in that room that can break away from that pack, I think it's him. But I think the chances of that happening are like maybe 20-25%. I want to talk about my pick real quick here with Taylor Green because like I'm not a Taylor Green fan at all. I think he sucked in SEC play last year. I don't like the fact that he lines up in bye weeks with two of my other quarterbacks. But I'll take the shot on him in the 22nd round. That's insane.
The value's really good here. It is. It's
and
really
like
good
he'll
here.
tear up the first couple of weeks. So if I even just get those 3 to 4 starts out of him, I'm good. I'm totally good with that. I'm okay if I miss out on his week 11 bye. He's probably playing LSU or Ole Miss, or he's not playing Georgia. But you guys get my point. Like he's probably playing.
Which QB is he for you?
He's QB5
on your roster. QB5, yeah. I mean, like that's amazing value there. Yeah, I mean, like your QB5. Are you really expecting them in a best ball to score more than 4 times?
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably doubting they're going to score 4 times during the season.
All right, I see a guy here that I'll be pretty stoked about getting here. I'm kind of surprised he's still on the board. I haven't seen him go this late in quite a while. So, I'm trying to see any other thoughts in the chat. I think we're good on the chat right now for the first time tonight. I think we're caught up.
Good pick with Sam Roush there. He's been in my queue for a while, and I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on another tight end yet.
Mm-hmm.
I keep just viewing other guys and trying to lock them up.
Let's see other things here. Oh yeah, another reminder to you all: we're about 2/3 of the way through the draft. So if you have not already, make me feel better about all of our technical difficulties tonight. And make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. I love seeing just how high we can get all of those things by the end of these streams. Again, you guys make me feel a lot better when you're able to do that. So continue to make me happy. Yep, there we go. Likes are going up. The dopamine is hitting right now. Matthew Brooks says, get on the Zachariah Branch bandwagon. Talks are our wideouts are looking like the best units on the field so far for the Dogs. I mean, they can't be any worse than last year where we led the nation in drops. Now,
Spoken like a true fan.
I mean, like, here's the thing. There are two guys breaking away in that Georgia wide receiver room, which is not really something we've seen a lot of the last couple of years, where, again, usually a lot of those guys are on the same level. But Colby Young and Zach Branch are described as our two best options at wideout this year. Now, do I think that translates to fantasy production? No. Do I think that translates to some big weeks throughout the season? And if Brooks, how many wide receivers have you taken so far? You've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth wide receiver. If you believe in the talent of Branch, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate you on there.
Well, one thing I want to throw out there, I don't know how your breakdown's going, Jared. So the approach I was taking was I couldn't draft a receiver until very late, which meant I was able to stock up on running backs early. I am now I've never had this in a draft I've done this year. I'm in round 23 and I've drafted all 10 of my wide receivers.
Yep.
I normally am drafting wide receivers with like my last 3 picks.
Yep.
I didn't even get to take my boy Carl Chester from Southern Miss.
He's still available to you if you take 3 tight ends.
Well, I believe in doing 4 tight ends this year because I want to take a couple shots on high flyers because there's so many unknowns.
That's interesting because I'm actually the opposite. Normally, I used to be big on take 4 tight ends, but this year I'm like, nah, give me a guy like Royer, give me another guy like Bosma, and then I'll take a high flyer with my third guy.
And for me, last year I did 3 tight ends. I'm doing 4 this year, but taking away 1 quarterback because that's the more stable position. So I'm kind of balancing it that way.
But the problem is if one of your quarterbacks goes down and you're down to like 4 quarterbacks on your roster, it can get dicey for you pretty quick. Oh, you drafting 6?
So I'm doing 6 quarterbacks, 4 tight ends, and then 10 and 10.
By the way, to your point, you were talking about how you started quarterback late and you're already at 10 wide receivers.
Wide receiver late, and yeah. So how do you break down?
I'm currently 9 running backs. Same deal. I might draft my final one here.
But I noticed this trend and I like it of, okay, I was able to go heavier on running back early. And then I filled in my weakest area, wide receiver, where I had to miss a little earlier than I normally do. Normally by this point of a draft, all my running backs are done and I still have 3 running backs to draft. So I'm in uncharted territories for me, but it makes sense when I was able to address it that much earlier in the draft. So for everyone, like to tie a bow around these draft strategies and what we're doing, what's funny is both Jared and I we're taking opposite approaches, but we ended up kind of getting to the same sort of a finish line where the position we had to wait on until the 7th round to get our first guy of, we filled that up compared to the other one. So like for me, I filled up the receivers before running backs and he's vice versa. So it doesn't surprise me we did the same thing because we're doing that seesaw balance of who we can trust in our lineups.
Yeah. Brett, correction. Tony's actually not my guy. Tony is Nate Marquise's guy, and I'm following the train. I want to make sure credit is given where credit is due. Nate Marquise.
I've been jumping on that one too lately. I drafted him in my Tadpole Bowl.
Like it is. Again, I'm shooting for upside here with a lot of my picks here late. Again, I took Derek McFall. Again, we talked about that SMU running back quite a bit earlier in the show. I was shocked considering how much we talked about it that he fell this far. He hits 2 stones for me, right? He gets me a running back pick and a wide receiver pick. And even if he's, RB2 or just part of a rotation there, I think, there's still some upside for him with that wide receiver eligibility. So I'll take that shot here. And then Tony, man, if he's Xavier Restrepo 2.0 as a true freshman, I'll take that upside here in the 24th round.
That's what I'm looking at. When I look at these slot receivers and why I drafted Tony in the Tadpole Bowl, like for me, my Tadpole Bowl, just to put a quick nutshell around it, my approach was I'm taking high risk, playing all upside. The only way I'm going to win the entire tournament is to just get a bunch of ballers.
Yep.
So I am going to hit a home run or I'm going to strike out. That was my attitude. And
second
so
place is just as valuable as 500th place in that tournament.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I'm like looking at those slots and I'm like, Tony might legitimately be the most talented guy in the room. He might be too young. He might not be ready, But like, so they're either going to have someone who's going to be middle of the road, or once again, if you're aiming for a home run or a strikeout, Tony seems like the guy to go with.
Mm-hmm. All right, Joe, you're on the clock here. I'll talk about Don's question here real quick. He's asking about these guys with running back, wide receiver eligibility. They absolutely can be a cheat code pretty quickly. And you're asking, like, how big of a jump does that provide? It really, really depends on how you are. It really depends on, like, how confident are you that they're actually a bell cow back for their team? Because if they are, they, quite frankly, should be going extremely high. Because we just saw last year, Rashard Smith, top 20 running back, top 12 wide receiver, right? Like, if you look at my room right now, let's take Adam Randall from me, right? He is currently where are you, Adam? Adam, where are you? There you are. He's currently my RB51 in my ranks. If I take his projection, and I take that number and I stick it among the wide receivers, wide receiver 14. Like, there's a huge, like, I think these are guys worth taking shots on as long as you think that you're pretty confident in the fact that they can be the wide receiver or the running back one for their teams. Right? That's why I'm taking the shot on McFall.
You're on the clock.
I am on the clock, and I'll take Skylar Bell.
And so one thing I want to add to that dual eligibility, me as a commissioner, I'm someone who doesn't let that slide. I will literally go to the school's website, look up what position they have him in, and change it. But I'm a stickler. But another way of looking at this, where it can be valuable, is there's a certain type of a nuclear option format of a player.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the main guy, but it's the guy who is like number 2 in a system that could inherit a big workload if there's an injury. So Katron Allen is one of my favorite nuclear options for this year.
Yeah.
Let's just assume he had dual eligibility for the sake of this conversation. So he still already has good fantasy value where he's at, but it's like, if you sit there and then starter goes down, he assumes that role.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's someone that you can get late in a draft. You can be willing to take on the higher risk. AJ Turner from Minnesota is a guy who he's not dual eligibility, but an example of take a late round shot at a guy who could be that sort of a nuclear option, but now add in, if you can find someone, McFall fits this dual eligibility. He might end up being the running back too.
Yeah.
But now a guy goes down, he gets that bigger workload, so that's one of those other ways that I like to look at trying to take advantage of the dual eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
But what we've always seen though, guys, for any of you also that are new to CFF, we're always looking for a guy who will play running back, who has eligibility at wide receiver, or a wide receiver, a guy who plays wide receiver who also has eligibility at a tight end. Those are really the only two scenarios we're trying to eyeball for this sort of an approach.
Every once in a while, you get a Malcolm Perry who's wide receiver eligible but playing quarterback, or Lynn Bowden, right? Like, you get one of those every once in a while, right? But let's see. I'm on the clock now. I just added a couple guys into my queue that I'm hoping to kind of get here towards the end. I think I'm going to go ahead and take my last quarterback here. And really, I tell every single one of you guys that, with your 6th quarterback, shoot for a guy that can get you 400 points on the back end here. If he strikes out, guess what? He's your 6th quarterback. But I'll take Brad Jackson out of Texas State. He's my 3rd quarterback with week 5 bye, so that's going to suck for me a little bit that week. But otherwise, like, Brad Jackson's rushing ability in a system run by G.J. Kinney, God dang, give me the upside of that all day long.
Sounds like what we were all saying a year ago. And since we got this tight end run going, I'm surprised this guy's still on the board. And what's funny is you said week 5 bye, and I'm going to share a week 5 bye here, but I'm going to take on the risk of the injury. RJ Maryland's still sitting here. I'll take him in the 26th round.
Oh no, that's a great pick in the 26th round. Like, just the potential that he could be back for the for the full season is worth the shot in 26th round. No, I think it's a great pick. I would say my boy's still on the board here.
I've got right now where I'm at. I've got one quarterback left. Now I get to talk like it's my show. I've got one quarterback left, two tight ends left, and I believe I only have one running back left. Is kind of where I'm at going into these last couple rounds.
I've got space for sure at one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. I've got my quarterback room set, and then there's kind of one wild card depending on who's there, right? By the way, Drew, that Messamaker pick, exactly what I'm talking about. Like, just shoot for a guy
Good
that can
pick,
get
yeah.
400 points. Even though I have Poffenbarger, and I probably should have picked both him and Poffenbarger, but like, I'm pretty confident in Poffenbarger being that guy. Love the Robert Thomas pick there, Matthew. I called him Mel Brooks. Matthew Brooks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And by the way, Mel Brooks fans, they are making Spaceballs too. It is going into production, folks.
Oh, dude, the ideas that they can do with that film are so awesome. Like, I know they're gonna get Josh Gad to play Barf, because rest in peace, John Candy.
Yes.
But can you imagine the jokes they can play with like an AI generated like Barf, and it's just this jangled mess that it like looks terrible.
But it looks like a jittery hologram.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And they'll make fun of the technology.
That's what I'm saying. They're just like, what are you talking about? It looks just like Barf.
Exactly. It looks just like him. What do you mean it's not him?
No, again, they're all older now. They need to play it completely straight. Just have them come out in their walkers and stuff like that, and nobody say anything. Just have it like, oh, dude, the comedic potential in that movie is so freaking golden.
So I'm struggling with this pick. There's a couple of ways I could go. I know I've got multiple running backs I can wait on. And you talk about upside, and I'm seeing quarterbacks go. I've not gotten one share of them yet. I was debating Nico or him. Wrong pick. I'm going to take Chandler Morris for some upside in that offense, hoping that he can be a good fit there. I'm not the most secure with it. I looked at the tight ends or the quarterbacks. I'm like, Miller Moss is still there, but I think there's a lot of upside with the Virginia offense in the passing game.
Yep.
I'd be willing to invest in their receivers more than their quarterback. But I think there's a lot of great late round value in this Virginia offense, and I don't think enough people bring that topic up.
No, I definitely agree. Again, I've been taking a lot of shots at Trell Harris at wide receiver.
Yeah, me too.
And I think he's a great value. I actually have him in my queue right now, so y'all feel free to take him. I've got like 17 wide receivers in my queue for my last two wide receiver picks. And I do think I'm going to spend a little extra at wide receiver. I think that's where I'm going to head, because I don't really like any of the running back picks. Or like, I have room for one more running back, but I don't really love like taking shots on these guys at this point, because I'm usually filled up by this point. Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and take the running back I kind of want here, and that's Jordan Brunson out of Miami of Ohio, the Brunson burner himself.
The Brunson burner.
Brunson burner, man. I came up with
that.
I
love that.
It is Justin Leo VP approved on the nickname. He comes up with all the nicknames around here for us, but I came up with the Brunson burner. I messaged him actually one day. I'm like, I'm surprised you haven't talked about the Brunson burner. He's like, the who now? No, I like Brunson there at Miami of Ohio. I actually went back and watched some of their games last year, and he looked really good. I think he really can be their clear number one back for Miami of Ohio this year, and it doesn't have to be what they did to poor what's-his-name last year, Keon Mosey, where they just ran him between the 20s and then took him away in the red zone. Brunson was the guy they stuck in at the red zone. I hope they give him the full 100 yards on the field.
So here's my question. Not where do you have Brunson ranked, but you've done projections like I do. What do you have his rushing yards and touchdowns at? I'm curious because I still don't know how I feel about the Miami of Ohio offense in general, so I'm just curious to hear. What do you have for his yards and touchdowns?
I've currently got his rushing yards at 1,105 and his touchdowns at 11.
We're pretty close. I have his yardage at 1,065 and 13 touchdowns.
Real quick, I'm taking my boy at tight end, Brock Lane. Give me another guy that can lead his team in receiving. Bronco Mendenhall was talking about at Mountain West Media Days that he was kind of mad that Lane wasn't chosen as first team all tight end for the conference.
I love Brock Lane.
That tells me that they're going to feed Lane quite a bit this year.
There's another guy, and unless people snipe what I'm about to do, I don't plan on drafting him, but I view him as Brock Lane 2.0, a guy that the only difference is he doesn't have maybe the same proven production, but like an underrated guy that I think is in a great fit in a system, and I think he's going to be like fly under the radar, really reliable guy you can lean on, is Ryder Curse from Temple. I'm just really big on this guy. But what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do a shameless plug, if you don't mind, Jared, for my show.
Go right ahead.
The show that I put out today, Fantasy Rain Rundown. I went over position battles to
What are you asking
monitor.
permission for? This is like the third time you promoted this episode on the show.
Exactly. Well, now I'm going into more detail, and but like I'm going into because fall camps start this week. I think the first ones are like between like the middle of the week.
Yeah.
Fall camps open, and there's two different position battles that I highlight that I'm like, if you want to shoot for upside, do it. Right now, I feel like they're handcuffs, but I'm not going to do a handcuff pick. I'm just going to promote these guys right now. TCU tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
Why not take late shots at them?
No problem with that whatsoever.
To me, Pipton, I have so many shares of Pipton, but I've been handcuffing this one. But Pipton seems like the more athletic guy, the guy that if you're looking for someone who's a Tino, a tight end in name only, a guy that can play a slot receiver, he has the athletic makeup to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is he was hurt through most of the spring. There's lots of question marks. If I had to put him in a pecking order going into fall camp, I'd put him at number 2 because of the injuries. But I'm going to do a dice roll, but this is why I like to do 4 tight ends. I got RJ Maryland as my tight end too. There's risk with injury. I just drafted Pipton. High upside. He had injury. He might not become the guy.
Yep.
And so then what I'm about to do here is I'm going to draft my 4th tight end. My final one, I'm going for more upside as well. Tavon Galloway at Middle Tennessee is a Purdue transfer, a guy who 100% moves and plays like a thick wide receiver. So these are 2 guys I love. If there's anyone that has a shot of being the quiet sleeper that explodes at the tight end position, these would be the first 2 names I would bring up. Guys that are going to be low in the rankings but have that huge, massive upside. So this is not necessarily me plugging my show, but really I want to plug these 2 guys in these 2 tight end situations that are good systems. I keep grabbing them late in every draft, and please, guys, let me keep doing it. But you need to start targeting these people, but you need to do it as a tight end 3 or 4 because there's high risk.
Yeah, Pimpton was somebody I was considering, and obviously we've seen Sonny Dykes have plenty of great tight ends over the years, and so I don't blame you whatsoever for taking the shot on that system there. I do question where in that pecking order he is, because again, I do think he could end up being the number 2 option. Up on the board.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and take Trell Harris. We were talking about him a second ago. Full PPR league. He'll be playing there, so feel pretty good. Well, Trayvon Rudolph was the guy I was kind of hoping would come back to me, but that's totally fine.
You're saying Pipton could be the number 2, and I agree with you.
But he could also be the number 5, right?
It's one of those. These guys. Why I want to highlight them is for a late round tight end dart throw. I don't think we talk about that enough. We talk about it running back and receiver, but you're betting on a guy who has an athletic profile that is right in between a tight end and a wide receiver, and both of these guys are that way. So if you want to take that late round shot, and that's why I'm doing 4 tight ends this year, take risk on high upside, good programs where offensive systems. Where you have that potential ceiling.
My favorite guys to take shots on a tight end, even late, are the guys that have legitimate shots to be their the number 1 option for their team. Brock Lane,
and that's one thing I can agree on too.
I've taken so much Brock Lane over the season.
Mm-hmm.
Another great one is just now Jake Nowell there at Akron. I think he's got a legit shot to lead their passing game this year. I'm going to take a guy.
I'm worried they're going to be so bad that
it's the same thing with Brock Lane, right?
Yeah.
But also, again, if they're the number 1 option, they don't need to be that good. They just need 500-600 yards throughout the season. We should be okay. I'm going to take one of your guys here, Joe.
Okay.
And I will say that it is your guy because I think you were on him first, but I've come around to him and I really like him with what's his name? What'd you say?
PJ?
Not PJ. Graves.
Graves,
what's his name? Hollingshead calling plays there at Coastal Carolina. Give me the shot on the slot wide receiver here.
Yeah, I would take him in the 23rd round. I like him that much.
Drake, by the way, I agree with you. The Camden Overton late round tight end pick is also a really good one. I like the upside there. All right, well, I'm done.
It's getting on me, and oh shoot, did someone take him? There was one guy I was going to draft. Yeah, so Donegg in the 28th. I've not gotten any of Lawrence from Missouri State, and I wanted to highlight him because I see him go undrafted all the time. So I just was expecting him to be here for me in the 30th. And there's still a number of other guys I like, but like I wanted him. I wanted Reed from Army, but
I thought that was
like,
you that drafted Miller Moss. I was gonna laugh.
No, it wasn't. but like that was one area I was going to go. But luckily now there's another running. So Lawrence, guys, is a great running back. I think should be taken in every draft. But I'm going to go with another guy I think has upside. How much upside I don't know. Ooh, I'm going to take. I'm just going to take him because I haven't drafted a lot of them I want to share. But Rocco Griffin at UMass, I think, has an opportunity to do halfway decent.
Yeah.
This is a situation of just how good is UMass going to be? How well can they run the ball? But I do think he has the ability to get a good workload. At this point, I'm just trying to draft guys to bring up names that maybe people haven't heard of or thought about very much.
No, I agree with you. Like, Rocco Griffin's somebody that I've started to get a bit more interested in. I don't have him super high in my rankings, but...
If we go back to the end there, when I went, when I was thinking about it, it was Javon Jackson at UAB who went 2 picks later.
Yeah,
that was the guy that I went,
No, again, another good one late. I have Javon at 85. I got Rocco at 97. So, like, both guys that I think are solid late round picks there. They got decent upside. It's just a matter of how much you trust that offense.
And once again, your last picks, they're dart throws for a reason. But I'm actually glad to see a number of guys that sometimes I don't see drafted, but they ended up making it here. And like I said, I kind of wanted to just do that with my last picks, is really bring up some people that I think you aren't always seen. And I don't know if Lawrence has ever been drafted on one of your shows.
I've seen Lawrence taken a couple of times. I've drafted Lawrence here and there. The big thing with Lawrence, though, is they really like that. I forget if he's true freshman or redshirt freshman, but King, the second running back there.
I can pull up his name real fast. They like him, but it seems like King Davis. It seems like he's a true freshman, and he seems like the solid number 2 guy there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to defer to a veteran guy like Lawrence at least to start the year, but I do think
start the year. That's the worry.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Like King, it sounds like has a very legitimate shot to take over as the year goes on. That's my only worry with Lawrence. But also, again, we're round 30, right? Every one of these guys has that chance. Joe, you were talking about you saw a bunch of guys here that typically go undrafted that did go drafted, but let's talk about in this draft. This is your chance to talk about some guys that are still in your queue that you think probably should have gone in this draft. We'll start with quarterback. The top guys to me that stand out here. Connor Harrell at Charlotte. I understand that some people will still think that Loftus still has a shot there at the quarterback position. So kind of understandable.
It's the top of my list.
But CJ Carr out of Notre Dame. I'm surprised nobody took a shot there. Blake Shapen at Mississippi State. And then pretty much everybody after that point, I kind of understand because the next guys in my queue are Billy Edwards at Wisconsin, McKay Hillstead at BYU, Malik Washington at Maryland, J.C. French at Georgia Southern, Jacob Clark, all guys that I'm not really shocked didn't make the cut for this draft. What about you at quarterback?
So at this point, we're talking about dart throw guys, really. So I'm not going to go purely based on my rankings. Blake Shapen's the top of my rankings right now. So I can't really take him. Like a Noah Fafita is number 3 in my QB rankings that hasn't been taken. I'm not going to do dartboard throw. If I'm looking at dartboard throws, I agree with you. I like Connor Harrell. Taven Jackson, I don't know how much I like him, but I think he's another dartboard throw guy. Where did I see him? He's way further down in my rankings. But if I want to take some dartboard throws, I think I just passed him. Taquan Robertson, Buffalo. I don't know how well Dexter Williams is going to be at Kent State, but he's just one of those names too where I'm just like
Kennesaw State.
Sorry, I always call him Konnichiwa State, but for whatever reason,
I'm not an alumni of KSU, but I have a special place in my heart for the Owls, so I will not stand for this.
Well, I studied Japanese in high school, so Konnichiwa is hello. That's why I just call him Konnichiwa State. I'm fully aware of what
Konnichiwa means. I'm not that uncultured.
Exactly, Joe. But Dexter Williams is a guy, and there's the quarterback and running back position at Kennesaw State. I'm kind of interested in, but not enough to invest. That's the way I would sum it up.
I did a brief dynasty on CFP 26, and Coleman Bennett was a near Heisman candidate for me because that was the only thing I could do with that offense half the time was just run the ball. But no, I think it's interesting there because, again, they're
taking over a Tennessee-style offense.
It's a veer and shoot system, right? And they are known
No, they changed. So it was an analyst. I don't have his name in front of me. I could look it
Well,
up.
Oh,
last year. Sorry.
No, last year was like borderline triple option. That's what Kennesaw did for years. Now they're moving towards a veer and shoot system under new offensive coordinator who came over from Tennessee. Again, I agree. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's a long time analyst of Josh Heupel.
I'm getting to it here. Joey Hazel. LZLE. I was expecting them to run more of a Tennessee style offense, which is why I was looking at that quarterback and running back situation. Like if they have a running back who can be a bell cow, that sort of thing.
No, I agree. Again, that is what they're moving towards this year. No, it's Mitch Militello. I did not pronounce that correct, but that's their new offensive coordinator. He's the one that comes over from Tennessee. I think you're thinking of last year's offensive coordinator.
I might have that. Yeah,
not that I expect you to memorize the succession of Kennesaw State offensive
analyst that moves over. Yeah,
exactly. No, I agree with you. Again, it's a system to keep an eye out for. I wouldn't be shocked if we're looking at those guys after week 1 or 2 for waiver picks. Mm-hmm. Running back, though. Speaking of running backs, who are some guys that you're kind of shocked are still on the board? I was about to talk about before this draft ended that, the only running back that got taken from Tulane was Jamuri McClure, but then Maurice Turner got taken by Drew there, second to last pick. I am surprised that Arnold Barnes made it through. And then everybody else, again, not shocked though, but Quentin Jackson's a guy I think people should be more interested in with Tajee Atkins no longer there at Rice. I'm kind of in on Devin Backaby this year. Like, I really think that's a veteran presence at Purdue. They're not going to be very good. He can catch the ball well out of the backfield. He'll be somebody they'll rely on, and that a lot of times does turn into some solid fantasy production. Mm-hmm. Joshawn Barbie is a guy I've been taking a lot of late-round shots at recently. And then everybody else I'm not really too surprised by. Again, just straight rankings, like Peyton Jones out of Duke, Elijah Davis out of UL Lafayette, Kanye Roberts out of App State, Qua Ashley out of Ball State, but I'm not surprised any of those guys are still here. What about you, Joe?
I really don't have too many other guys there that I think really stand out. One thing I'll just throw out there is a guy who I keep looking at in every draft, haven't been willing to pull the trigger yet. A sneaky play that could come in here, Oscar Attaway at South Carolina. If Fossen is denied his eligibility, that could be a really good late-round pick, a guy who's running back 1.
No, I agree. Again, especially after the treatment they were giving Raheem Sanders last year. Clearly, the staff is okay with giving a bell cow work to somebody. My only thing is they are kind of talking up guys like Matthew Fuller. They bring in Isaiah Augustave. I do think
there's a lot of risk there, yeah.
Yeah, but also it's a 28th round pick or 30th round pick.
Exactly. So it's like you're betting on the most logical name, and if it whiffs, it whiffs. I also haven't really been able to let Drew read. So that's the only other name you didn't mention I kind of looked at.
What about wide receiver here? A couple guys.
Tons of names here.
But that's the nature of the position this year. There's a lot of guys we like, but there's a lot of guys that can fall real flat. Jaleel Farouk out of Maryland was a guy that kind of surprised me. Gary Bryant Jr. out of Oregon. I know we're real big on Decorian Moore, but he's back from injury. He'll play in the slot where Tez Johnson was last year.
Low play in the slot.
It sounds like Gary Bryant.
I'm just like, to me, I'm not willing to invest in that slot yet.
Don, by the way,
one slot position I'm willing to invest in is Jaden Lloyd. Oklahoma State went undrafted.
He did. And Don was just brought up the next name here for me is Brady Cluse out of Memphis. I know CJ Smith went off here. Brady Cluse is one of the wide receivers I was considering at the end of this draft. Other guys, just personal favorites, Griffin Wild out of Northwestern, a fun late round shot there.
Yeah,
Brennan Thompson out of Mississippi State. Jaden McGowan out of Charlotte. Again, you guys know I love my Charlotte players, but I didn't draft them this time because I've got so many shares of them. And then everybody else, not really surprised, didn't make the cut. What about you, Joe?
So this is more so I have guys in my rank higher on others. I mentioned Carl Church earlier. I'm glad therefore went undrafted. I'm still the believe Kevin is slot receiver at Washington. Kevin Green undrafted. Marquise Johnson at Missouri undrafted. Bo Sparks at Texas State undrafted.
Yeah.
D. who I think follows system, says that he should be wide receiver system. I think he should be wide receiver 1 at Rutgers. Also, P.J. Johnson, New Mexico State.
Cannot disagree more on that one.
Quavis Humphreys Samson State.
Yep.
Just Javon Gibson. I drafted him in the Tadpole Bowl. Once again, like if I'm willing to take a guy in the Tadpole Bowl, I'm leaving this dude. Javon Gibson undrafted.
Yep.
There's a lot of good guys in here. But those are the top one to bring Chris, Arizona, when undrafted.
Huh. Everybody's saying that your audio is messing up. Can you speak for me real quick, Joe?
Yeah, microphone check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, everything sounds good on our end, y'all. I again, y'all let me know if his issues continue and everything. He sounds good to me, so I wonder what's going on with YouTube then. Answer a couple things to the chat to clear some things up. Out of Rhythm Fantasy, Bison's currently fighting with the NCAA to get another year of eligibility, and as it currently stands, it looks like he will not be granted it. And so that's the whole deal. Yeah, it says Joe's breaking up bad. That's super weird because on my end, like you sounded just fine. Am I breaking up too, y'all? Like, let me know in the chat. Anyway,
I'm going to unplug my mic and re-plug it in, but turn down my volume while I do it.
Yeah, it says sounds choppy. Joe's breaking up bad. Everybody, okay, they say that's so weird because like, why is your audio?
All right. So Jared, how do I sound now? Everyone watching, I sound now.
Jared's good, just Joe. Okay, you're good, Jared. Okay, we'll it'll take a second for them to get to it. Anyway, to continue to talk about Faison, yeah, it sounds like that it's more than likely he's going to get denied his extra year of eligibility, unfortunately. Let's see, any other things I need to clarify? Jake Drew says he's worried about the injury stuff with Farouk, because that's why he passed, and I totally understand that, right? Like, I think if he's healthy, he's a pretty clear wide receiver 1 for Maryland, but boy, did he miss so much of spring, and that scares the crap out of me. Anything else here? They said still no bueno. That makes no sense, because like I'm recording the audio directly from Joe, and he sounds fine to me. I don't know. That's super weird.
But we've covered a little. I mean, we've covered most of the things that you normally do.
That's true. Again, we'll try to finish up here decently quick. Yeah, we're about 2 hours and everything, so hopefully you don't sound too bad. I'll have to listen back to it later to see what everybody's talking about. Tommy says, "Where did I go wrong tonight, Tommy?" Everywhere, Tommy. No. Innis in the 20th round is a little bit rich for my taste, I would say, Tommy. I don't like the Baugh pick. I'm just not a big fan of Baugh this year. Let's see, anything else here? Oh, out of sports, or out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports, you asked about where did Hughes go. Hughes went off the board at 112, and then you said, yeah, Tyson went off the board at 1-4, and then Sam Levitt didn't come off the board until the 7th round. Sam Levitt, again, very high floor guy. A lot of people talk about, like, oh, he's got an incredible ceiling. I don't really see the ceiling this year. I'll be real. Like,
I think my projection, I can agree with you. Like, I love the floor. I admit my ceiling is on 90 scale back because I went up this year in August, but he is a great like a quarterback too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great quarterback too.
Gotcha. Let's see. All right, people are here asking. Since they're here, might as well get a couple favorite picks and least favorite picks. Robert says, "Did I do better than last week? At least I don't remember your last week's squad, Robert. Just being real with you, but I can look at your squad this week and tell you if I like it. Love the Henderson value there at 2-1. Kamari Bolton at 6-1 is pretty solid considering where he's normally gone. Quarterbacks, I like the Avery Johnson, like Austin Simmons there. Wide receivers, I think you're getting a little risky with a guy like Nick Anderson in the first half of the draft. But I like that you're investing in systems here. Go ahead. The thing
that stands out to me, which investing in the wrong system this year, is Eckhouse, Washington State.
Yeah. It is unfortunately, Eckhouse is probably not going to carry nearly as much value this year. The only way he gets his value back is if they do what they did with Gronowski and let him run around the red zone a lot.
I just won't draft him this year. That's my attitude on Eckhouse.
I think I have
one of the guys. I let everyone else draft him so someone else can slide to me, like Darian.
I think I have 1 or 2 shares of him in the underdog drafts so far, but like I don't like. But that's Power 4 only guys, right? So.
But now credit got Julian Sane in the 6th round. There's a great value pick.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Moore. These are open contests. Just Washington State is not last year's Washington State offense. That's the one that we are trying to know. They're actually a running offense here.
Okay, I'm okay. So just interesting. I think I see what people are talking about now on my end, where like your audio versus my desktop audio is capturing two different things right now. So I'm actually gonna switch your audio real quick. All right, Joe, can you speak real quick and let everybody decide if this is better audio?
Yeah, so what I was saying before, the Washington State offense of this year is going to be a running offense, not last year's Washington State offense.
All right, Joe is good now. All right,
Oh.
cool. All right, again, something's up with the application of audio capture. Again, it's a beta version, so I'm hoping that it's just something for just this stream. Hopefully, it's not something I have to deal with too much in the future, because I prefer doing the application audio capture much more than my desktop, which is what you're on now. So if you guys hear random like notification noises in the background, I apologize, but that's how we go. That's how we roll. So now we can go longer, Joe. Let's keep it rolling here. Anyway, who else asked for a couple? Oh, Jake asked for some favorite picks on his squad. So Jake, where are you? You are, let's see, the 110 pick. So Joe, favorite pick on Jake's squad? Your David Gauss pick at 10-3 was pretty solid.
So when I drafted Jacoby Lane, Jared, you said, "Oh, there's a potential stack there." No, there isn't, because Jake got Maava in the 8th round.
Oh, I didn't realize he had already come off the board.
And we both loved the Gauss pick in the 10th round.
Yep.
Grabbing Jolie and like jumping in when you saw the tight end run starting, that's another really good pick, because I kind of do believe in that. Like, watch for where the tight end run goes, and then you're kind of picking your spot. And you got a guy that's in my top 5, and he was not. He's below the top 5 guys. Right around, I think, the 5th. So, I mean, this is like perfect timing to play a tight end run.
Donald asked in the chat, and Joe, we're terrible hosts. We completely forgot the whole point of the start of the show is us comparing our different starts here and everything. So I'll start with mine, since mine's a more unconventional route compared to how most people are drafting this year. How much do I hate the 0 RB strategy? Y'all might be surprised for me to say I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. Again, don't get me wrong, I still feel really, really scared at running back comparatively, and I really wish I could have gotten Gauss there in the 10th round. That would have felt really good. But again, I felt like I got lucky with some of like where things were falling for me in terms of which running backs I was able to get. These are all guys that I like, but that's what I think makes me feel better, is that because I started late, it made me feel better about just going and grabbing guys that I like rather than like not necessarily ignoring ADP, because again, like I looked at ADP to go Brown, Cook, then Gauss, right? I looked at ADP to determine like, all right, which order should I draft these guys in? Because in my rankings, I actually have it as Gauss, Cook, Brown, the opposite. But I looked at ADP being like, all right, what's the best way I could get all 3 of these guys? And
Jared,
really,
I'm going to interrupt for a quick second. I got to step out for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
That's okay.
I have to do right now.
That is okay. I will monologue until then. So, yeah, I was able to grab multiple guys, and really, if it wasn't for Stribling falling there in the 9th round, I could have gotten the 3 guys I was really looking for in that range. Just all guys that I like. And so, and then that opened up for me to take shots on guys that I'm not normally as comfortable drafting, like Javian Thomas, just to shoot for upside. Same with Herschel Turner, Rodney Fields, Deshaun Ford. My running back group's already shaky. Might as well go for, potential top 5 guys later on. And then Joe will come back here in a second. I'll talk about, again, obviously he got the benefit of being able to draft a ton of great running backs early on. I like the upside of his 2 rushing quarterbacks he's able to grab early on. And then, maybe not the wide receivers I would have gone with in this range, but, building a solid room just all around here. Like, I think, if you're going to wait on one position, wide receiver definitely is the easier route to go, I would say. I still think that, much like an underdog draft I've seen from people, you can wait on wide receiver. I do think it is smart to grab what people are calling an anchor wide receiver early on in your drafts this year. So grabbing a guy, like one of your top 3 picks should be a wide receiver, to grab somebody who's relatively safe. and then you can wait on wide receiver a little bit until like the 7th, 8th round, like Joe did here, right? Because Joe, would you feel better about your draft? And you can use this as a bridge to start talking about like what happened
Yeah.
with your draft. Would you feel better if you were able to grab like a Deion Burks in the 2nd round, or like a Elijah Sherrod or Denzel Boston in the 3rd round, or even a guy like Corey Rucker didn't quite make it to you in the 4th round, but like Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, like drafting a wide receiver in the first 3 or 4 rounds,
Yep.
and then waiting on wide receiver? Would you feel better about that?
That's been a huge thing. My all FBS draft strategy analysis I break down. It really is that. Actually, I in the articles that I write, I say the first 2 rounds, it's one running back, one wide receiver. My last Diary of a Draft Man episode, I added a little tweak to it where I said, like, when you get to the end of a group, where I say draft these positions in these rounds, you allow yourself to push one back 1 round and then move one up, which would allow me to do 2 running backs and a wide receiver in the 3rd. And I did that in the last episode, and I did like the way it played out as well. And I like having some fluidity. I think it all depends on where you are in. To me, this is a big topic because I look at it really intensely when I draft. Where am I in the draft order? Am I in that first third, the middle third, or the back third? And I kind of really love being in the back half, really, like 7 through 12 spots, because I feel like I have more flexibility. Because you can get some good wide receivers that'll still slip to 3-7, 3-8, etc. Like for me, I Chase Sowell, I would take in the 3rd round to be an anchor guy. So there's a number of guys I think David Amador is a great one. So there's a lot of receivers I like that I feel like slide, and a great example is who I took in the 7th of Cameron from Baylor. He's my number 8 receiver. I don't know the exact number. I can't count them up that quick off the top of my head, but like I got my wide receiver 8 in the 7th round. So in this approach, obviously I feel good.
I gotta ask. How the heck are you getting Josh Cameron to wide receiver 8? Do you know where I got Josh Cameron at? I'm so out on Josh Cameron compared to most people. I got him at wide receiver 95.
Okay.
Jake Spavital does not feed a wide receiver 1. I assume that he is going to feed Cameron more than he has his wide receiver 1 in the past, but we have no real history that suggests that Cameron can get to a point where he can, be a, top end CFF wide receiver. Again, I got him at 82 targets. He's averaging 13.3 yards.
I have him at 93. I have him at 93 targets.
So, and again, like to be fair, and as I explained in the CTN episode tomorrow, like again, wide receivers, when you project them out, they're all so close together. When you find that kind of median outcome for all of them, that if let me put him at the 95 target. You said 95 targets.
I put him at 95 targets.
95 targets. So let me put him at 95 targets. That gets him up to 153 for me, and that can get him as high as that gets him at wide receiver 27 for me all of a sudden. But I still can't get him at I still can't get him at wide receiver 8. I'm not sure where. I would like you to explain that one to me.
So I pulled up my actual where I run the numbers in my projection here. Which funny. That was my one question in mailbag episode today is how I work my projections. So to start with, when you look at historical stats, everybody plays different amounts of games every year. So I always start by breaking everything down to a per game stat. It's the only way to make it apples to apples.
Fair.
So it starts there, and everything I look at is from that basis. So I'm going to be talking through that lens right now. So I'll just talk on targets. When I look at where I'm looking at with this offense, the different schools, I'm going back to 2018. Last year, their wide receiver 1. So this is another thing that I like to say. I track based on the role itself, wide receiver 1, and then I'll look at, was it an inside guy? Was it a slot and outside, whatever. But target-wise, so like last year at Baylor, 6.23 targets per game. That's the only other time that this offensive system has been that low was 2021 at Texas State, 6 targets a game. If I view every other year, it's 8 targets, 8.33, 8.33, 10 targets. So there's a higher workload when you view going all the way back to 2018, which is the first thing I always start with workload. The other part, which is where you start to kind of come in and where I try and mix the individual player with historical data, like the next two things is like reception percentage, and I do yards per target. But like yards per target, and this is where I'm going to say I'm high. Yards per target I have at 9.75, which is which is higher than everything in the historical range. So the historical range has a top of 9.31, which was last year. So I'm giving him a little bit of a bump compared to what he did last year, but also has a low of 6.18. So that's one where I'm kind of tying that yards per target more to what he did as an individual player than the program, but I'm calling out the fact of like, this is high for the historical norm. And then the other part, which is also really high, is I do touchdowns per target. It's just my way of trying to take things down to a smaller stat. And the number I'm going to read, it's you take touchdowns per target and times it by 100 just to make it an easier number to look at.
Mm-hmm.
2018 at West Virginia, they had 12.5. Last year, 12.35. So one thing I do see is that this is the absolute maximum. The lowest one is 2. So there's a huge range here. But I at least see more than 1 year with this ridiculously high number in the 12s, and I put him at 12.5 this year. So it's one of those where I'm saying I'm number one, and this is also my thing. I'm really high on the Baylor offense overall. Talk about just like year 2 boom teams and offenses. Baylor's one of those. Year 2 in the same system with the same coordinator. Year 2 with everybody coming back. So like I'm just going to compare to last year's numbers and just reiterate it here. The biggest thing is the targets. At 6.23 per game last year, I have them at 7.78. Mm-hmm. Reception percentage, 64% last year. I have them at 66. Yards per target, 9.3 last year. I have them at 9.75. Touchdowns per target last year, 12.35. I have them at 12.5. I don't see those as really big leaps up from what he did last year. But some of the things, when I view it in the historical context, I will admit, like, it is kind of high. So there's a balance. It's a juggling thing. But, like, I don't think, like, for me, when I break it down to these really smaller numbers, I don't think it's that big of a leap. But I do view some of the things, like especially the yards per target and the touchdowns, are the two things I do think are the highest, which is what drives them up my rankings.
So I will fully admit, for my projections, I quite potentially do oversimplify touchdowns. I am very big on the fact that touchdowns are not a sticky stat. Whether you're talking about touchdown, especially for wide receivers, it's not a sticky stat when it comes to touchdown rate, the number of touchdowns, or anything like that. Like, to me, it all balances out to roughly a number of, when you're projecting out, 1 touchdown for about every 110 yards is what you should roughly expect, right? Just
I always use that like you. I use that like you. Like that's something that you always need to keep in mind. Where here, I'm 3 touchdowns above that ratio.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and so that kind of adds to the risk there as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, that shortens Cameron quite a bit. You're looking at a guy, a system spot that has averaged about 12.9 yards per reception. 13.3 yards per reception is what Cameron's averaged the last 2 years. Not a bad yards per reception by any stretch of the imagination, but not something that is going to make up for the fact that he's, like, in my mind, he's only getting about 82 targets. Because last year, you're looking at, what do you get last year? I'm trying to find my...
I literally have him getting 1.5 more targets a game. Which once again, like I say, not the hugest jump. It's a realistic jump.
Again, I've got him getting 18 more targets this year over a 12 game span, which is 1.5 targets more per game.
Yeah. So we're right on line with the increase.
Yeah. So I'm there on the increase. My thing is that I don't necessarily think that's going to be enough for him to become CFF relevant, like some people want him to be. Now, again, the entire receiver room cleared out. They lost what's his name. Ashton Hawkins, who they thought they're going to get another year of eligibility. He has been since denied. So the receiver room's completely cleared for him. It's just a matter of, there are 2 outcomes that come with that. One, Josh Cameron's a beast. It doesn't matter what corners are put on him in the Big 12. They're going to funnel targets to him because he's the best wide receiver they have on that roster. Or 2, nobody else steps up in that wide receiver room, and then teams can bracket Cameron a lot more, right? And then this offense...
Or 3, My number one pick, Washington, is such a threat on the ground with a running quarterback that they're dropping a safety in the box and creating one-on-ones that Cameron can take advantage of.
Potentially. Right. Again, there's a lot of
everything's potentially when we're in the offseason.
Yeah, you're
Let's be
right.
honest.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But again,
I think this offense is so well balanced this year. I just see them making a big leap. Like I talked about Navy. These might be my two what I'm willing to invest in the most. Year 2 leap offenses, Baylor and Navy.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely get you there. I'm trying to look up. I can't access my. I wanted to get into the CFF winning edge, but again, all my stuff got signed out because of that stupid crash earlier.
And one thing I'll throw out there with the touchdowns, where I agree with you, like when I will start looking at my projections. I mentioned earlier in the show I did my first projection on Colton Joseph, and I went, "Holy smokes, that's way too high."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, like the when you're comparing that touchdowns per yardage thing, like we all kind of know this is what should be an average if you take system, talent, everything out of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, what you see year to year.
Yeah.
At the same time, certain systems are very different. A service academy quarterback, their touchdown rate's going to be way out of whack.
Yep.
It's not going to follow that. So system does have to go into play. And especially at wide receiver, and this is one of the things that I like, I mentioned how I do touchdowns per target times that number by 100. That's what I'm reading off. But like, I'm give you a comparison here. For all the wide receiver ones, when they were outside wide receivers, the average was 9.79. The 2 years it was a slot, it was 5.67. Mm-hmm. So I do also like. There's a lot of these things where it really is a nuance. There's no black or white. It really is a gray area that I do a lot of this stuff. But like to me, I didn't like putting his touchdown rate this high. But I'm like, the dude was at 12.35, and the ground game's going to be even better. He should get more one-on-one matchups. I bumped him up 0.15 from last year, which to me, I'm like, that's not that ambitious of a jump. So that's one reason why I can believe in, like how you say, like sometimes you just have to have faith. If you believe in your process of a projection, sometimes you just have to tell yourself, believe in your process, believe in your projections to an extent. And that's where I kind of was like, that's kind of how I am with Cameron. I'm like, I really didn't bump it up that much. He just is coming out that good, and he's a returning starter, and everyone else is around him, and he's in a defensive conference where they're going to do, like, there's just so many things.
Defensively challenged conference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one reason why I'm so high on him.
No, yeah, and again, I totally get it. It's just I've heard other people like say their projections for him were really high, and I kept wondering to myself, I'm like, I keep trying to tweak this to get him higher because I feel like I have him way too low at 95, and I probably still do a little bit. Like, again, it doesn't take much for me to bump him up. I can put him at 85 targets, and he probably jumps up like 20 spots in my rankings because that's just how close projections are this year for me. But even still, like, I'm kind of
the yardage. It's the efficiency stats, the yardage and the touchdown stats. What he did last year is way above historical norm. So you have to take an approach of, do I think he's going to make a slight improvement in his play and he continues that trajectory? Or do you say, was that an anomaly and there's going to be a regression year and you project it that way? I think that's just the two ways that you go about it.
Like, to answer Tommy's question in the chat, like, I am, like, my projections have him regressing at touchdowns. Like, he scored 9 touchdowns last year. I project him at 6 right now.
And I can't argue against that because, like I said, what he did last year was really high compared to what's been done at all the other places. And you're following the numbers the same way I'm following the numbers, but I'm kind of going on the, everyone's back and like giving him just slight improvements with having all the pieces back. Yeah. I think both can be valid arguments.
I fully agree. And that's why I partially wanted to take so long with this argument, or not argument. You get my point.
No, dissecting the process. We're going to call it that.
I'm sure everybody. We still have plenty of people listening, so that tells me that we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Real quick from James again. Sorry, James. I keep feeling like I take forever to get to your questions, man. He says, "How much do you put into stacking players in the same team during your draft?" It's a nice bonus. It's not something I go out of my way to do in drafts. There are certain times I do it. One, where I just get a little giddy about the prospect of getting two guys from the same system. Like today, getting Messer and Veldkamp, 2 guys I haven't been able to get a ton of shares of this season. I'm like, all right, here's a chance for me to grab both of those guys and have at least one team that could shoot for that upside. One area that there are 2 areas I will stack in that are kind of non-traditional. Because, you can do the quarterback wide receiver route. But when you talk about late round tight ends, right, Joe? We talked about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your quarterbacks and just shoot for some tight ends that are attached to those quarterbacks, because they're going to throw a couple touchdowns to tight ends throughout the year. Might as well get the double pointage.
If they're worth going after.
No, for sure. Yeah, like there's a base level, right?
Unfortunately, I drafted Demon Williams, Washington. I think they're going to have tight end by committee this year. I'm not touching that position.
Yeah, and
I'm not drafting the Navy tight end.
I'm not drafting the Texas State tight end, right? But I considered going after Carson Kent at Oklahoma, right, to pair with Mateer there, right? Again, none of my granted, Carter's decently highly drafted, but I thought about pairing up Morton and Carter, right? Like that's another stack you could do. The other
there's one guy that I haven't been able. I'm in the wrong tab. One guy I haven't been willing to pull the trigger on, but I did the Duke stack in this draft, and Landon King at Duke at tight end is
that's a fun one. I like it.
Yeah, I kind of like him. I just haven't had enough confidence to pull the trigger on him once. But that's another like a good fun stack that you can pull off.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Frog fan, you asked where's Hoover getting drafted. He got drafted at 8-7 in this draft, and in ADP, he gets taken as QB 19, which is, again, typically you're looking at right where he was taken in this draft. About 8-11 is where he typically goes in drafts right now. So, other questions here.
I'd love to chime in though on the stat question here.
Yes, go ahead.
So one thing I do, and I started talking about this when I was talking about tadpole bowl strategy, but in the earlier rounds of a draft, I don't personally view stacks that much. You just need a perfect scenario like what Jared had, that you have a high-end wide receiver and a high-end tight end that both pair together.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that with Florida Atlantic. Carp did that with UTSA. There's not a ton of teams that fit that. But when you have it, I'd have USC, and USC is another one. So there's not a ton. I think
Hoover McAllister, I think, is another big one.
Yeah, Hoover and McAllister. So to me, I love stacks later on. So you get past that halfway point of the draft, try and squeeze as much juice from the fantasy value that you're drafting. I did a stack with Duke, and I've been doing the North Carolina stack of Bailey and Rogers a ton. But once again, so why I love this North Carolina stack, it's rounds 22 and 23. This is an offense I think has potential with their ceiling. They also could have a very low floor. Why not take the shot, draft both, and then especially in a best ball, if they go off, you double hit. So I like it late. Or the other thing I like late is doing handcuffs that you can secure late. So an extension of that would be the Washington State running backs or something like that. It's harder to chase handcuffs earlier in a draft as compared to later in a draft.
No, for sure. And one other point I wanted to make on the stacking question, again, I mentioned one of the unconventional ones was me drafting tight ends to pair with my quarterbacks later on in drafts as my tight end 3-4, whatever I want to do. The other one that it's less likely to hit, but it is something I like to chase sometimes because it has paid off so much in fantasy drafts before. If you have a bell cow running back and you have a dual threat quarterback in the same system, draft both of them. I promise you're going to love those kind of systems. A couple of ones that I think are really great this year. Utah with Wayshawn Parker and Devin Dampier, there's potential there. Sam Levitt, Kyson Brown, potential there, right? Between with those guys being, bell cow backs along with the dual threat quarterback. One that could be really fun that I'm looking at right now, Damon Claiborne. We already know how that staff views him there, but if Robbie Ashford's, basically
Edward Scissorhands as that quarterback.
Yeah, I know, right? But the idea here is that when you have those two guys, you basically have two guys that one of those two is going to touch the ball in any given play for that offense, right?
Now we don't have a true bell cow, but another great system to point out for that would be Florida State this year. I'm down on Coleman, but the Washington backfield is one that fits what you're saying.
I agree.
I'm just down on Coleman because I don't know how. I'm purely guessing, folks. I'm a Washington guy. I am purely guessing at how the dang carry distribution is going to go because there's no historical stats. Yeah. We literally are making stuff up. Every one of us that will call ourselves an analyst, or people that watch or read us might want to call us an expert. I'm not a fan of that word, but we have to just make up stats. We don't have a historical precedence to go off of.
No, right. And again, like I know a lot of people are worried about Coleman. Like he fell off last year when DeMond came in, but I discussed this at length in the RB crash course video.
And I want to throw one thing out there, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The three games where DeMond played the most. 2 of them, Washington got their butts kicked.
That's what I'm saying.
Oregon.
Again,
they're not going to run the ball.
I would say the game script got out of control for Coleman real quickly.
Exactly, and that's and Penn State. I don't know how many people look into the Penn State game as one of his games, but it really was, to me, the first game. They really just put him in and let him go. But man, we got spanked that game.
And then the bowl game against Louisville, Washington was playing from behind the whole time as well.
Exactly.
So you're not the game script got away from Coleman there as well. So as long as Washington stays competitive in their games, I think Coleman's going to be fine. I think people are reading too much into the DeMond Williams factor there.
Well, I think but as part of why do we like DeMond Williams, we think he's going to carry the ball a bunch. I don't remember the stat off the top of my head. I want to say 5 games. Coleman had more than 15 carries. I might be wrong, but I might be close. So one of the problems with Coleman is just if that was already where he was capped at with a quarterback who didn't run much before, yes, he can. I think his carries will go down, but as you were talking about, that stack of a running quarterback and the running back, his efficiency numbers should go up. So it's really hard. I just have so many questions. I don't know what to make of Coleman, exactly where he's going to end up.
Coleman also, again, put a ton of work this offseason into kind of getting his body more into shape. I think that was part of the reason why they kind of capped him at his carries. They couldn't run the ball 15 plus times in a game because they didn't think he had the endurance to do so. Now, dude looks ripped. He didn't lose he's ridiculous how he looks. But his weight didn't change that much, but you can tell that he lost a lot of bad weight and put on some really good weight this offseason.
There's that, and you have me interested, and I have my projection model up. So I just want to pull up what the stats are, if you don't mind, and if people are still watching, they might like to hear.
We still got some people. They're starting to tune out.
Some people. Give me a second. I'm doing some copy paste here. So Jed Fish, I go and look at his running back 1. Once again, I hate to say this. This is breaking things down by carries. Well, it's carries per game, so it works perfect. I'm going to read off the last 4 seasons, the carries per game of his running back 1, in order from last year going backwards. 14.8, 9.8, 10.2, 8.2. Last year was when you're I think he didn't have the endurance. No, he made a bell cow that he never had before. And and on the year he was at 14.85 carries per game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm history-wise, last year, if you want to make a regression argument, there's an argument there for Coleman.
I would agree.
Like I said, 10.2 was the next best number.
But I would also argue again that Coleman doesn't come back for another year.
I can agree on that.
Without
Muhammad's going to be good, but he'll they got to work him in like DeMond got worked in last year. They're going to get him ready for the next year.
Now, granted, again, Coleman probably got some bad feedback from the NFL. Part of the reason why he went through his transformation he did this offseason, right? But again, I doubt he comes back if he's being told, yeah, your workload is going to be reduced next year. So I've got about 180 carries. What do you got him at, Joe?
I'm going to say this. I don't think he came back because of anything about workload. I follow the program ridiculously close, and I'm just going to say there's a culture there that's building. I think Washington is a 7 to 8 win team. They're going into this season thinking they're going to the conference championship. That's the culture and the mindset that's there. That's why Coleman came back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that team is they are all in bought on the culture right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I have Coleman at 164 carries, 982 yards, and 9 touchdowns.
Okay. You said 182 carries?
164 carries.
Okay.
But because I mean, actually, I want to pull up the whole team so I can view them all here. I had it under running backs, but like DeMond, but that's just it. Like how much is DeMond going to eat into it? So I've
Mm-hmm.
got Demond. Actually, I have Demond at 145 carries and Coleman at 164.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief. I got Demond at 80 carries.
Well, man, that's just it. But this is what I said at the start. We literally have to make up numbers.
Yeah,
we literally do.
We have no clue what they're going to do with a running quarterback.
Well, and it's because even the numbers we have from the 3 games Demond played in, I think he averaged around 20 carries a game. But like Penn State and Oregon, 2 of those games, he got sacked a bunch of times. He might have only carried it 10 times and been sacked.
He's also playing. He's playing from behind, so he's playing hero ball the whole time. So of course he's going to have more rushing attempts.
Well, but what I'm saying is he might have only had 10 real rushes, like designed rushes, and 10 sacks. That Oregon game, he took so many sacks, so it even becomes harder to look at the stats when he played and guess how many how many carries he had. And I have him a little over 10 carries a game when he was doing 20 carries before. So I'm putting him, I'm just going to guesstimate 55% discount of the stat that we have. But once again, it's like, how do you try and make up a number, be reasonable, and it's just, we literally have to make it up. That's the worst part about the Washington running game is you have to make up Demon, but Demon's going to eat into Coleman, but Coleman's efficiency is going to be raised per carry. And it's a juggling act that, like, we're juggling one thing that we can't see right now.
So
and we won't see until the season starts.
I can give you the numbers that PFF provides when it comes to design runs versus scrambles and everything. And again, you can take these for however you want here.
Because I don't have that.
So in the game against Oregon, he had 8 design runs, 4 scrambles, right, on 13 attempts. So 1 sack there.
Yeah. Penn State. What about Penn State?
Penn State he had on 7 rush attempts. He had, I'm just trying to make sure I have this on. Yeah. So on 7 rush attempts, where's Penn State at week 11? He had 3 design rush attempts, 4 scrambles. And then
he came in late and they're just running.
And then in the game against Louisville, this is what I was talking about, he only had 2 design rush attempts on 14 attempts. The rest were all scrambles. He was playing hero ball. They told him, go out there.
Yeah.
You're going to get the ball in your hands every time. If you don't like what you see, take off and run.
And right? That comes out to 4.33 designed rushing attempts per game. And that's the tough thing is also, do you think the coaches are only going to design 4 run plays a game for him? Like we literally
not with a full off season, but no, exactly. Plan it out.
Exactly. Like that's the worst part. Why I said we literally have to make up numbers. That's the worst part about Demon. And even though I drafted him in round 3, and I've drafted him a couple of times, but I maybe have 3 shares total, including tonight.
Yep.
You have no clue. You really have no clue. And I like to say more so Demon than John Coleman, but you're drafting Demon on faith. I'm making him a keeper in my home league. That like, there's a number of guys that are known out there. Like John Lobb is in my home league. I'm gonna forget everybody here, but Bacon Fueled is in that. A lot of people know Rebel Nut. I'm forgetting Tommy's last name.
Harvey.
Yeah, Tom Harvey's in that one. Like we have keepers, and like I'm keeping Demon.
Yeah.
But why not? He's a sophomore, but I have no clue what I'm going to get out of him this year. No clue what I'm going to get.
All righty.
So that's the toughest thing. As we're talking about that situation, like there's a lot of sway in Coleman and with Williams, and the problem is they both have high ADPs.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like I like grabbing Coleman as like a 3rd running back. I think he's a great 3rd round running back if you've already got 2 guys ahead of him already. So, all righty. We've gone long enough. Again, this will be one of the longer shows, but again, tons of great discussion post-draft here, Joe. I think we could keep going for 3 hours here, but before we get out of here, man, you've got a lot of stuff down the pipeline. Let the people know what they can expect from you and your content over the next couple of weeks as we get ready for the season, which is less than a month away.
Yeah, I mean, like really, we're in a everybody, not just myself. We're in a transformation point right now. So for myself, I've started up. I think we're maybe 6 episodes in, but I'm now doing a weekly Sunday podcast during the off season called Fantasy Rain Rundown. Short little, on average, trying to be about 30-minute podcast. Gonna be doing that until the season starts. And then my weekly podcast I'll be doing in season is start sit. But we're kind of at this inflection point. We had spring camps finish. We're now doing all this summer talk and getting feedback from the press, like post spring. Right now, we're kind of getting the pre-fall camp media buzz, but this week, fall camps start.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that they start practice Wednesday. So we're about to transition. And I talked to my wife about this, but this is really easy. When we're in the off season, we're in the summer and the spring, you and I, we can come up with a topic and work on it ahead of time.
Yep.
Once practices start, we become completely reactionary.
Yes.
We have to wait for all the news and we react afterwards. And that's how we can come up with stuff.
I have had to explain this to my fiance as well sometimes.
So this is the big changeover that's about to happen. So for me, this week is kind of like wrapping a bow around that. I'm going to be doing one more. I started a brand new article series called Player Prop Spotlight. I've already done, last week I did Underdog, their preseason props. And I'm going to be doing, I don't know exactly which day yet, but I'm going to be doing Prize Picks, their props this week. And then another thing I do before every fall camp is one of my last episodes. I call it Damaged Goods. It's just like a recap of all the news we have about guys who are injured before camps start. So kind of just a good way to like refresh your memory about what guys are hurt, or if we've had updated news about a guy who missed spring. And then not this week, but the week after, it's going to be nothing but really it's going to be reporting on fall camp news and mixing in some mock drafts in between. And it's really going to be that until we hit week 1, because we now become reactionary to the news heading out of fall camp.
Yeah, again, it is really, we're getting ready for the grind. It is here sooner rather than later, and boy, do we not get a break.
It's here Wednesday.
I will ask you, Joe, again with the player prop. When can we expect the week 0 player props? They just got dropped on Underdog earlier today.
So I'm not going to do a week 0, but actually this article series of player prop spotlights. And one thing that's difficult, state of Indiana, there are restrictions. I can see some stuff. I can't see some stuff, but I want to report on it. I live in the Indianapolis area, but this article series, player prop spotlight, I will do. There'll be Saturday only props, but I will be doing articles for that every week during the season. And I'm just kind of pulling out Prize Picks and Underdog for preseason stuff. So this is going to be a brand new thing that I'm going to do. That'll come out every Saturday morning, written article, so you can read it while you listen to College Game Day. So brand new thing I didn't do before. Right now, I just can't say if I'm going to do week 0. It's just something that's so brand new. I can't really say that. But I can say definitely week 1, it will be a regular thing that will come out 8 a.m. every Saturday morning for the Saturday slate.
Definitely look forward to that. And Joe does, again, people tell me I'm the hardest working guy in college fantasy. Like Joe puts out so much content. You guys don't even realize, like his subscription to his website's worth every penny, and it's not even really that expensive. So y'all go check out his stuff.
And I want to throw out, if you're a premium subscriber, you get my draft guide for free.
There you go. Speaking of draft guides, go check out ours over at campusofcanton.com. We got a lot of great stuff heading up y'all's way. Over here at Chasing the Natty, again, we're in the middle of our Crash Course series. For all of you guys just tuning in this close to the season 1, we welcome you. 2, those are great videos to get you caught up on everything. Tons of information, about 2.5 hours worth of content of every position. We got the wide receiver 1 coming out tomorrow. If you're listening to this after we recorded the show, it is out now. Then we got the tight end, kickers, and DSTs all combined the next week, and then we'll get to all of the fall camp news after that. But until then, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Love doing these live drafts. We are back next Sunday. We will have Steve Balunda from RotoWire joining us for that one. He will also be joining us in Canton for the Kings Classic Draft, along with myself, Joe Arpasi, and all that. And then, in addition to that, 2 weeks after that, we'll have on here for the very first time, for a first for Chasing the Natty, we'll have Joe DeSalvo from the CFF site joining us. Yes, so that'll be a ton of fun.
I love Joe. Joe, thank you for agreeing to come on to this show, man. You're an old school dog like me. And Jared, you mentioned the Fantasy Football Expo. Do you know what you're going to get to do for the first time? You and Eric are going to get to do for the first time there in Canton.
What is that?
I'm bringing the belt for the battle for the belt.
Heck
you can hold it. You get to see that sucker that we're all
I don't know,
playing
man. I
for.
feel like that's bad luck if I try to touch it ahead of time.
It might be, but you know what? Yeah, I'm bringing that sucker. Anyone watching, if you are in that competition, the battle for the belt, like, hey, the belt's gonna be there. It's real.
No, I fully believe it.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Again, check us out next week. Until then, y'all have a wonderful and blessed week. See y'all.